Order the regularly scheduled, the special called council meeting of the Cedar Park City Council. A quorum is present. The meeting is open. Please note the roll. There is only one item on the agenda, discussion of possible action regarding Councilmember Tim Kelly's violation of our city core values, city council goals, city ordinances, city council rule of procedure, section 3.1, and city charter, section 11.9 for a whole long list of things. So this item is Mr. Kirkland's.
Point of inquiry. Point of inquiry. Point of inquiry. Point of inquiry.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, under 3.1 of the City Council Rule of Procedures, the most current form of Robert's Rules of Order shall be followed for the designated item before the City Council tonight.
Yes.
And point of order. Point of inquiry, rather.
Would you like Robert Rules of Order before followed tonight?
They are to be followed tonight, yes.
Okay, great.
All right, so point of inquiry.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, what are the possible actions we will be discussing or taking tonight?
I think that's up to the council.
Well, it needs to be specific, Mr. Mayor.
No, I think it'll be based on motions and seconds and discussions and debates.
Well, there's going to have to be an amendment, and in order for that to occur, I think we've got some issues here.
Yeah, so, I just...
is the charter going to be used, Mr. Point of Inquiry, Mr. Mayor?
The charter is listed in the agenda item. Whether it's used or not depends on whether the council wishes to discuss and use it.
All right, so point of inquiry, Mr. Mayor. Yes. Where in our charter does it allow censuring or disciplining of a city council member?
I'd have to defer to our city attorney on that.
Mayor and council, in our charter, section 3.06 does mention...
I'm sorry, could you repeat that again, please?
Charter section 3.06 does provide one form of, considered forfeiture of office. There's one charter section that mentions a form of discipline by the council.
Okay, so you broke up again. You said it was 3.06.
That's correct.
Okay, and which paragraph is that?
Subsection B.
Subsection B, forfeiture of office, and which of those under there is being executed? There's 4 paragraphs under B. So which one?
I can answer that is not listed or posted on the agenda for action tonight.
Yeah, that charter provision is not posted.
Oh, okay.
Robert's Rules of Orders has a number of different disciplinaries in them, including censure, by the way. It actually is listed.
Very good. I can't hear Councilmember Chavez, by the way. Okay, so we're gonna do 3.06. Is that correct?
No, we're not posted for section 3.06. But Robert's Rules of Order, and under our rules, we will go by Robert's Rules of Order. Censure is in Robert's Rules of Order, so that is something that could be brought up. It's actually not in our rules, but it is in Robert's Rules of Order.
So, point of order again, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
Where in the Robert's Rules does it discuss that we can discuss actions or violations of any member of council?
There's a whole section of Robert's Rules of Order that talks about disciplining council fellow members of the board, including censure.
Okay.
And I'll defer to the city attorney on that.
Okay. So
inquiry. So the 3.06 is not on the agenda to be discussed. So right. Can we use that or what?
No, 3.06 is not on the agenda.
And, all right. So that being the case, Mr. Mayor, I think that this 306 is not on the agenda, then, and we are under the Roberts Rules of Order, that any discussion is outside of Robert's Rules.
No, because Robert's Rules of Order was invoked through the Rules of Procedure 3.1. That the Robert's Rules is actually in our rules that you can do.
No, it actually has to be invoked by me for it to be in effect.
Well, you did invoke it.
That's correct.
And Robert's Rules of Order applies for disciplining council members and using censure.
Okay, so if we're operating under Robert's Rules of Order for this particular agenda item, then Robert's Rules of Order specifically states
Well, I have a point of inquiry because in the Robert Rules of Order only pertains to actions during meetings or official city business, right?
No, that's incorrect. Robert's Rules of Order has sections for both actions within the meeting and actions outside of the meeting.
Yeah, and that is correct. So when Robert's Rules of Orders are, this is a point of inquiry, by the way, Rules of Orders are invoked into a council meeting, the Robert's Rules shall be followed for the designated item. And that designated item, the only power and authority that has is over council members that are in their official capacity and not in their private capacity.
Yeah, I think that's a legal question.
No, that's actually a Robert's Rules, because Robert's rules our city council. Anything that I do not do in my official capacity cannot be brought within the purview of the city council or under Robert's Rules. This is a moot point. That means that this.
Well, I hate to tell you this, but the council will be able to make motions and debate and second under Robert Rules of Orders. And then you can, if you think they're somehow not allowed, the city attorney can step in or you can challenge them. But the things you do on the dais are absolutely in your official capacity.
Absolutely. That is
okay. So what
point of inquiry, and point of inquiry though has to do with these actions that I'm being charged with, I guess you could say. I didn't know we were a judicial branch here. I thought we were an executive branch. But anyway.
No, we're a city council.
This is brought up about a recent posting in Facebook and the heat that I have taken for it. And I apologize to everyone else on council for getting the heat also. But this is not part of, this has nothing to do with city council official functions. So that being the case, and because I did not act in any official capacity, that means that this city council meeting is irrelevant. And get right to the point, I think I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. Yeah.
We have a motion to adjourn in a second. Any discussion? Okay, let's go down the list. Mr. Kelly.
Adjourn.
Ms. Duffy.
Nope, let's proceed. Thank you.
Mr. Guevara. Mr. Guevara.
He fell off.
Okay. Mr. Kirkland.
Proceed.
Mr. Robinson.
Proceed.
Mr. Chavez.
Adjourn.
And I move to proceed. Proceed. So is Mr. Guevara on the line? Was he on the line?
He was on the line. I thought I saw him.
Okay.
So point of inquiry, Mr. Mayor.
Do you want to pause until we try to get him back on, or that motion fails 2-4, and we're going to briefly pause until we can see if we can get Mr. Guevara back on the line. Thank you. Okay, do we have Mr. Guevara?
As far as I know, I'm back.
Okay, awesome. There you go. Okay, Mr. Kelly, you're saying? Tim?
Yeah, so we didn't get Councilmember Guevara to vote on that, but it was, what the motion was there was to adjourn because the council does not have authority over any of the council members for items that happen outside of official city council authority.
So I think the vote is to adjourn or not to adjourn, right?
Yes.
We had a motion to adjourn, and it went down 2 votes for Mr. Chavez, Mr. Kelly, and everybody else was on the line voted against it. Mel, this is your item, so why don't you take the floor and talk?
Point of inquiry again, please.
Okay.
All right. So in reference to 11.09, that is also mentioned in the agenda item, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make a special note that once again, the city council is a legislative branch and they are not a judicial branch. And if you're going to reference 11.09, penalties only apply to a person that's convicted. And I have not been convicted of anything. And this body does not have the authority to convict me of anything. This is a legislative branch of government. The body cannot convict anyone or anything. The body can only legislate.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Kirkland?
Point of inquiry. Point of inquiry.
Yes.
All right. So seeing that we're falling under the Roberts Rules of Orders, as I mentioned before, and Mr. Guevara was not present, Robert's rules are applying to this agenda item and this agenda item only. They do not apply to elected officers or officials 24 hours a day, 365 days a week. And I'll state it again. The comment that we are hearing and we are talking about what happened outside of the city council in a private setting on a private Facebook page. So I motion to adjourn because the city council does not have the authority in any way, shape, or form to adjudicate any actions that did not occur in an official capacity or outside of official capacity.
Okay, are you making a motion to adjourn?
Yes, and it was.
Okay, Mr. Kelly's making
Dorian,
another motion to adjourn.
It was seconded again.
By Mr. Chavez, I'm assuming? Yes, okay. Mr. Kelly,
Adjourn.
Ms. Duffy,
Proceed.
Mr. Guevara.
Do we have an opportunity to discuss the motion at all, or are we just going straight to a vote?
Yeah.
No, that's exactly the point. Everything has been out of order so far, Councilmember Guevara.
So to Councilman Kelly's motion, as far as the items go to anything that was done outside of the council, I agree with him. However, if you look at the agenda item that's on there, and I was going to bring up the 3.06 because that specifically talks about actions that can be taken against council member. That wasn't invoked, and I didn't see anything in addition to that in there. However, there are some allegations in there regarding core values and city council goals. And so I would at least briefly like to give Mr. Kirkland the opportunity to explain what he meant by those. But I do agree with Mr. Kelly that we're limited on what we're allowed to do as council members, and it needs to be what's done from the dais as an official. So having said that, I vote against the motion.
Okay, Mr. Kirkland.
Proceed.
Mr. Robinson.
Proceed.
And I vote to proceed. So that motion fails 2-5. Mr. Kirkland.
Inquiry.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Point of inquiry.
Yes, Mr. Kelly.
All right, so the point of inquiry is what forms of communication fall under 3.1 of the city rules and procedures?
I'm not sure. Are you asking a question?
Yes,
What are you asking?
it's a point of inquiry. What forms of communication fall under 3.1 of the city rules of procedures?
I'd have to defer to the city attorney on that.
I can read the text of the rule of procedure. City council shall determine its own rules of procedure, voting, and order of business except upon the request of any council member. The most current form of Robert's Rules of Order shall be followed for the designated item before the city council. Council members shall confine their discussions concerning a motion or a question to the merits of a motion made and seconded or to a question already presented to them. Council members shall show respect and courtesy to and refrain from making disparaging comments about fellow council members, the public, and city staff in the conduct of a city council meeting, outside of city council meetings, in social settings, and on social media.
That's precisely my point. This entire paragraph, point of inquiry, by the way, this entire paragraph deals with once Robert's rules are invoked and it is in an official setting. Robert's rules are not in effect once I'm off the dais.
That's correct. Yeah.
So there needs to be a discussion on this before anything is brought forth, because this item should not be before the city council.
Yeah, the public, you've got 67 people signed up to talk about your behavior, Mr. Kelly, which is like a new world record for our city council. So do you want to hear our residents speak or do you want to silence them?
I have a inquiry. Actually, well, go ahead and finish, Councilman Kelly.
Go ahead.
Do you want to hear them speak or do you want to silence them?
No, I have a point of inquiry.
Okay.
So the agenda does mention Councilman Kelly, but it also references the 3.1 City Council Rules of Procedure.
Yes.
So since that applies to the entire council, I would like to move to amend the agenda item to include all council members that are not included on.
Second.
And all these procedures.
I'll defer to the city attorney, but we can't, I'll defer to the city attorney. We can't change a posting without following the Open Meetings Act. And I think,
right. So
I think y'all are supposed to take open meetings training.
Second.
If we're going to do this correctly, I would say, yeah, I mean, we can't do
Attorney, can we amend an agenda item on the fly at the moment and still comply with the Open Meetings Act?
We require 72 hours posting notice of the items to be deliberated at the meeting.
That's a state law.
For the Open Meetings Act.
So
that's a state law.
Right. So if that's
I think you guys know that.
Right. So then if we're not operating properly, following these rules and procedures, I would make a motion again to adjourn.
On what basis?
Because under 3.1 of the rule procedure, it applies to the whole council. It doesn't just apply to one councilman.
Yeah, we're not using 3.1 anymore because Tim invoked Robert's rules.
All right. So does Robert's rule only apply to one councilman?
So the agenda item only references Mr. Kelly.
Thank you. Which is again back to my point. So a point of inquiry again. What forms of communication fall under 3.1 of the city rules of procedures?
I guess I'm not sure.
It was read by
what do you mean by that?
And it was read by the
We've
city
also
attorney.
referenced our core values, our city council goals, our city ordinances, and people have signed up to talk on all of those things.
Yeah, the core that's fine, Mayor.
Okay, well, why don't we let the people talk?
However, what we have, if this is a point of inquiry, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
The communications that are being involved have to do with city staff, the conduct of council meetings, outside of meetings, social settings, and social media. And I guess the question is, does that include city communications?
What do you mean?
Does that include city communications?
What's this? What do you mean by city communications?
Oh, it's very simple. Email, text messages by city staff, city council members. Emails, notifications, agenda items.
I'd ask the city attorney, and maybe you can sort it out. I don't know what you mean.
Could I hear the question again, Councilmember Kelly?
Well, again, it has to do with what form of communications fall under 3.1 of the city rules of procedures. And Typically, does that include city communications?
The way I read Rules of Procedure 3.1, the first portion reads to apply to the actual conduct of a meeting and applying
Correct.
Robert's Rules of Order to the conduct of a meeting. The second part reads that it can apply to statements and conduct both within a meeting and outside of a meeting, if that answers the question.
Okay, why don't we let Mr. Kirkland talk since this is his item? And you guys can have some more time later. Mr. Kirkland?
Thank you. Mayor, fellow council members, and citizens. I first mentioned
So
the
what we're going
request
to,
for a
point of
special
order,
meeting
point of
on
inquiry,
April.
Mel,
point of inquiry.
Tim, let Mel talk
point
and
of
then you can talk
inquiry.
after Mel.
There's rules here that have to be followed according to Robert's
We've
rules.
got discussion and possible action about your violation of our core
There
values,
is a point of
goals, and city
inquiry.
ordinances and rule and charter. So Mr. Kirkland's item,
That is correct.
has-
I understand what it says, but what I'm indicating to you is under the Roberts rules, you don't have the authority over anything that I do when not in official capacity. I do not
are you
act.
talking about in
away from
terms of
city.
action or in terms of
The
discussion?
point of inquiry, Mr. Mayor. If you want to have a
Tim,
discussion on the
Tim.
dais, then we can have a discussion. But this is not between you and me. It should be amongst everybody. What specifically?
If you're going to argue about whether action can be taken on a certain item, that's one thing. But when it comes to discussion, I thought you were a big First Amendment guy. I thought you were about.
And there's also rules, Mr. Mayor. That's a nice way.
And the rules.
My point of inquiry is,
Okay, let's
my
ask the
point of
city attorney.
inquiry is, do the Roberts rules and 3.1, do they specifically, and in this case, what specifically are we talking about? Are we talking about all forms of communication?
What I'm telling you is I'm reading Robert's rules, and you can adopt a motion of censure without formal discipline procedures for things that happen in a meeting and outside of a meeting. The question to the city attorney is.
That is not correct.
I'm reading it right here. And and here it is.
In the official capacity.
What I'm going to say is, ask
What
the
page,
city
Mr.
attorney,
Mr.
is the city attorney,
Point of
the
inquiry.
way the item is posted right now for
Point of
discussion,
inquiry.
and possible action under Councilmember Tim Kelly's violation of our core values, goals, city ordinances, Rule Procedure 3.1 and City Charter 11.9, with Robert's rules invoked, are we allowed to listen to our residents speak to us?
Point of
That item is
inquiry,
posted.
Mr. Mayor.
And then I'm talking to the city attorney, Tim.
Oh, sorry.
I'm asking the city attorney if we're allowed to listen to our residents who have signed up, and now we're up to 70 of them, would like to address this item. Are they allowed to speak the way this item is posted?
According to Robert's Rules of Order, if recognized by the chair.
Okay. Then I'm going to let.
Well, thank you. Point of inquiry, point of inquiry once again.
Residents speak.
Point of inquiry once.
Mr. Kirkland, you may proceed. You have the floor.
Point of
Mr. Kelly does not have
inquiry.
the floor at this time.
Point of inquiry. I have a point of inquiry. I have a point of inquiry.
Okay.
What communications, again, and this needs to be stated directly, what communications are in question? Is it all city communications, all private communications, anything done on social media?
I'll have to defer to the city attorney on that.
I believe that's up to council, what the general contents of the discussion will be tonight.
I make a motion that we allow all residents who want to speak to our elected officials and all the public that want to speak on this issue to our elected officials, that they be allowed to speak.
Point of inquiry,
Hang on, we have a motion
Second.
open for discussion.
by Kirk.
If you make a motion, there has to be a discussion on it. You made a motion.
Any discussion? Okay. Mr. Kirkland.
There has been no discussion.
I do have a request for, like, if we allow the citizens to speak under rules of, I said I just wanted to make a comment if if we vote to have the residents speak, I'd just like to request rules of procedures, item 3.7. The speakers are grouped in favor of or opposed.
We're no longer under our rules anymore. I don't know how else to tell you that, Mr. Chavez. Mr. President, vote for Robert's Rules of Orders. Right now, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Allow all our residents and people who sign up to address us, and we've already started voting.
That's, well, that's, you know,
So here, I'm going to call the roll.
point of order,
Ms. Duffy.
Point of order.
May we proceed? We're wasting
Mr.
people's
Guevara.
time here.
Point of order.
Mr. Guevara.
Point of order.
Proceed.
Mr. Kirkland.
Proceed.
Mr. Robinson.
Point of order again.
Proceed.
And I vote to proceed. Mr. Chavez.
Point
No.
of order.
Mr. Kelly.
I'm invoking a point of order.
Mr. Kelly, what's your vote?
The point of order, the discussion wasn't closed. There was still discussion.
Passes
No vote.
5-1 with one abstention. Okay, Mr. Kirkland, you have the floor.
Point of inquiry.
Mr. Kirkland has the floor.
Point of
We'll do your-
inquiry.
We'll do your point of inquiry after Mr. Kirkland speaks.
I have a point of inquiry,
And you will
Mr.
have it after Mr. Kirkland speaks. Tim, if you want to be the chair, run for
This
mayor.
all sets up
If you want to be the chair, run for mayor.
protocol
Kirkland,
of
you have the
operating
floor.
this.
Let the people speak, Tim. First Amendment.
Point
Here
of
we go.
inquiry, does the agenda item mention me, but also references 3.1 of the city council rule procedures?
Mr. Kirkland, start talking.
Yes, sir.
And don't stop.
I first
Move
mentioned
to
a
amend the
request
agenda.
for a special called meeting on April 23rd. With the pandemic and everything else going on, I did not push the issue. However, the continued and ever escalating reckless behavior of Tim Kelly, I decided that we needed to address the issues related to my original request. I appreciate the mayor calling this meeting, and I appreciate everyone's patience and attentiveness as I take a few minutes to lay out my concerns. Almost immediately upon taking office in May of 2019, Tim Kelly began conducting himself in a manner inappropriate for a Cedar Park elected official. When not attacking citizens or regional partners or whomever he targets, he spends his time and his energy focused on our neighboring cities, on state and federal government issues, on political party issues, on ideological interests rather than the very community he was elected to represent.
And I'm going to state my point of order again, which supersedes anything
Mr.
that's going
Kirkland,
on.
Mr. Kirkland,
Citizens
proceed.
would come to our council meetings to address issues and concerns. As it progressed, our meetings drew many speakers, and they became contentious between his supporters and his critics. This went on for several months with Tim Kelly fanning the flames. In late September or early October, our mayor made an impassioned plea to everyone to de-escalate. Almost immediately, his critics stopped coming to the council meetings. In turn, he escalated his inappropriate behavior. At every turn, his actions and behavior have gotten worse. He has escalated his habitual online attacks and name-calling and encourages his family and a handful of supporters to do the same. He has escalated his attacks on several of his fellow and former council members. He has begun to attack our city staff. He uses
Point
his
of order,
Facebook
Mr.
page
Mayor,
as
I'm
an
being
Mr. Kirkland, you can
attacked
speak
on
later.
the
Mr.
dais by
Kirkland
another
has the
council
floor.
member. I'm
He
being
has
attacked
brought
on the
in
dais by another
reinforcements.
council member. That is actually a violation. I am being disparaged, being attacked by another
Mr. Kirkland, you have the floor. You
on
can address
on
it
the
later.
dais.
You can address
That
it
is a
later.
violation of
You can
order
address it later, Tim. Mr. Kirkland, keep
3.1.
going.
He has brought in reinforcements from all over the state. He has violated public health and safety orders. He egregiously violated the most minimum safety protocols, putting our staff at extreme risk. He continues to put his own interests ahead of those of the citizens of Cedar Park. He continues to embarrass our city. He has repeatedly indicated he only represents the people who voted for him. That leaves over 78,000 citizens without representation from place one. Somehow he has decided he'll ignore his obligations to our charter rule of city government.
Point of order.
He sought election and is instead self-determined that he is governing.
Mr. Chavez, Mr. Kirkland has the floor.
Disparaging Councilman Kelly. Just want to make a
Mr.
statement
Kirkland has the floor.
as he's making statements of fact that he doesn't even know anything about.
Mr. Kirkland, keep going.
That's correct. A point of order on being disparaged on the city council without any facts. It is simply statements.
Mr. Kirkland,
As
you'll be
Councilmember Kirkland,
Mr. Kirkland, keep going.
Somehow he has decided to ignore his obligations of our charter rule of city government, which he sought election to, and has instead self-determined he's governing a republic. It doesn't work that way.
Point of order. What you are doing, Mr. Mayor, is illegal.
Mr. Kirkland, keep going.
This is a point of order.
You've had 30 minutes to talk.
You've blown off 2 points of orders.
Let's let Mr. Kirkland
This
talk.
is not Mason rules at the legislature. This is Robert's rules, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, keep going, Mr.
Blow
Kirkland.
off.
Within the past
You cannot
week,
blow
he
off
has
points
posted
of
a
orders,
desire to
Mr.
run
Mayor.
for LISD board, and as told a local journalist, some of his nonsense is to show he stood on issues he believes in well before any future potential run for higher elected office.
Point of
such
order.
as
Councilman
US
Franklin is
Congress
saying the exact same thing to Tim Kelly as
Tim Kelly does
Mr.
to everybody
Kirkland,
else.
keep going. You guys
used his
respect the First Amendment,
He
you
uses
guys.
profanity in his public quotes, as does on his campaign page, as he has done in attacking city staff and numerous citizens. Again, his interests are not those of the city. Considering he spends his time on social media warfare and interest other than the city, it is understandable that he's constantly ignorant of the basics of our city council responsibilities. He obviously doesn't put much time into his elected responsibilities. He has repeatedly proven he doesn't understand our budget process, doesn't understand our employee review process, doesn't understand Open Meetings Act, and obviously doesn't care to learn. His raging outbursts in council meetings have become legendary and garnered much media attention. And as the months have worn on, his outrageous behavior has become intolerable.
Point of
As
inquiry,
multiple-
I'm being disparaged over
Keep
here by
going,
a
Mr.
city
Kirkland.
council member.
Keep going, Mr. Kirkland.
Point of inquiry. I'm being disparaged by a fellow
Mr.
council member
Kirkland.
in his official capacity and not as a private individual.
Keep going, Mr.
As
Kirkland.
multiple regional media outlets are now engaged, he continues to escalate his disrespect for our citizens, our city, and the public at large. And this past week, he posted derogatory comments about public school teachers, one of our most valued group of public servants. The resulting comments from concerned residents and from concerned citizens and regional residents has been overwhelming. Tim Kelly does not care. He has spent the past few days continuing to attack and encouraging others to join him. There is no excuse for his behavior, none. He chose to run for a seat on city
Point of
council.
order, that is absolutely
Keep going,
lie,
Mr. Kirkland.
and you're allowing him to get by with lying. You violated
Keep going, Mr. Kirkland.
point of
Our core
order by not
values
recognizing
were
the
posted
point of order.
publicly on the city's website long before he filed to run, as were our council rules of procedure, our city charter, and our code of ordinances. Prior to running, he had access to the terms and requirements of the office. They remain in place. They remain the same today. He ran, he did get elected, and then he immediately began violating those terms and has continued to do so virtually on a daily basis. He has victimized our city, our citizens, our staff, the public at large, and has embarrassed all of us to an unprecedented level. We as the city council, in regards to our rules, our charter, and our code of ordinances, are extensively a self-regulating body. We supervise ourselves. Typically, human decency, ethics, and pride protocols will suffice in maintaining an orderly and respectful environment. It is now inarguable that Tim Kelly is an anomaly and that he lacks the basic kennel training to function effectively and within regulatory parameters of this council. It is up to us to fulfill our responsibility, to hold ourselves accountable. That is our job. We swore an oath of office. We owe that to the citizens, regardless of who they voted for or if they voted at all. We owe it to the public at large. We owe it to our city staff, to our business community, to our regional partners, to the public at large. It is time to address Tim Kelly's repeated violations and disqualifying behavior. I will pass this back to Mr. Mayor, I'll pass this back to you, other city council members, and the citizens to speak and address their concerns.
Why don't we hear from our residents? Mr. McKay on the Leander ISD School Board wishes to speak and express his concerns about Councilmember Tim Kelly's continued unprofessional conduct.
I have a point of order. Point of order really quick, and I'm not sure if this applies to under Robert's rules as well, but I know we've drifted away from this, but I know in our rules, and it might be mentioned in Robert rules, we're required to inform everybody the full name, business or residential address, or business residential telephone number, and
yes,
representation.
good point. I don't know what Robert's rule says either, but how about we just read it? Is that good?
Sure.
Okay. Jim McKay, LISD school member, lives in Cedar Park, and he wishes to express his concerns with Councilmember Kelly's continued unprofessional conduct.
Point of order, there was not an address provided.
Okay. Address 223 Sunrise Terrace, 512-966-2211. And we can also just send all this out. We don't normally put this in the minutes. We don't normally put everybody's stuff in there. If you guys want a copy of all this, of addresses, because I know, Tim, in the past, you've written letters to some of the people that have come up and spoken at council. So we can hand that out if you'd like.
That needs to be done. A point of order, it needs to be done for every resident that's speaking.
I'll be happy to do that. Mr. McKay?
And I reply, and by the way, just a point of fact, Mr. McKay, I reply to people who email me.
Great. Mr. McKay, you have the floor.
First of all, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Good evening,
Yes, we
Mr.
can
Mayor,
hear you.
members of the Cedar Park City Council. My name is Jim McKay, and I'm a resident of Cedar Park and a member of the Leander ISD Board of Trustees. Let me state, I do not speak on behalf of the Leander ISD Board of Trustees, but I do speak as a concerned citizen who happens to be a member of the LISD Board. Elected officials have a responsibility to serve the residents of their communities with honor, humility, and distinction, and every interaction must be rooted in dignity and respect. The dais in which elected officials sit is not a personal pulpit, and the position of elected official does not give them a stage for self-service, personal agendas, or attacks on the citizens who elected them. Unfortunately, we're here tonight because of one member of this council who has failed to lead with honor, humility, and distinction, has failed to treat others with dignity and respect, and has used his position as a soapbox for personal agendas and attacks on the citizens of Cedar Park, Leander, and beyond. We know who that member is. The example of Mr. Kelly's betrayals of the public trust include interfering in the affairs of a neighboring city, openly defying legal orders enacted to help stop the spread of a pandemic, and now most recently calling teachers leeches and suggesting they should be fired for voicing their very real concerns regarding returning to the classroom amidst a raging pandemic. Yet Mr. Kelly was very vocal in proclaiming his right to protest the LGBTQ plus community in Leander. He was adamant, if not defiant, in his right to protest stay-at-home and social distancing orders at the state capitol, but now feels other citizens have no such right when they express their concerns over their health, welfare, and safety, as well as the children they teach, by stating they should be fired for voicing their concerns. In fact, in June of 2019, Mr. Kelly was quoted in the media as saying, "We did not give up our rights, and we're not held to a higher standard. We're held to the same standard as everyone else." So applying that logic equally, if teachers should be fired for voicing their concerns, then Mr. Kelly should be fired as well for his protest. Correct? As an aside, Mr. Kelly, I believe the good people of Cedar Park hold a much different view of what standard we, as elected officials, will be held to. From your core
Mr. McKay, just a warning, you have 1 minute left. Mr. McKay, you have 1 minute left.
We understand that trust is earned through good character. Trust is earned through good character. However, you do not demonstrate good character by calling any segment of our community leeches. And you do not demonstrate good character by openly defying legal orders. Clearly, Mr. Kelly has failed to exemplify the core values that he swore an oath to uphold. Our residents are struggling with social, emotional, and economic uncertainty brought about by a global pandemic. They are scared, they are angry, and they are tired. People are being infected at alarming rates, and some in our community are dying, while others are simply trying to keep the lights on, the mortgage paid, and their children fed. The last thing we need right now is any more of Mr. Kelly's one-man sideshow. Mr. Kelly, do the job you were elected to do. However, if you think you were elected to call others names, defy legal orders, and ostracize already marginalized...
Please, Mr. McKay, please wrap it up.
...position of public trust. Thank you all.
Okay.
So a point of fact, Mr. Mayor, and we're allowed to do a point of fact after every conversation that occurs. Texas has no teachers unions. If you read the article, it's obvious that it doesn't have to do with anyone in Texas. It had to do with other states and those Texas and those unions that are in other states. I respect teachers fully. I've had great teachers for all of my kids, and I'm pretty certain I'll have great future teachers in the future.
Okay, point of fact, Mr. Kelly, I don't think it was obvious because we have 70 people signed up. Ms. Kane, you wish to talk on the topic of recalling Mr. Kelly prior to the continuous vitriol from Mr. Kelly. And Ms. Kane, you have referenced another council member. That council member is not posted on the agenda, so you need to keep your remarks to Mr. Kelly.
Before we go on, I just wanted to make another point.
Sorry. You want me to name or address? Sorry. Cedar Park, 500 Monaco Drive.
Are you guys not able to hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted to make another point of fact on the last person. I know for some reason, Councilman Kirkland and that citizen thought that for some reason, because you're a council member, our First Amendment rights change. We still have the same First Amendment rights as any other citizen. And he also mentioned that Councilman Kelly went to the Drag Queen Story Hour to protest. I can tell you that I've been very clear that Councilman Kelly, Councilman Robinson, and I went to that Drag Queen Story Hour to observe, to see what was going on, because we had a state rep, John Busey, pushing this whole drag queen stuff, and it wasn't appropriate for our public libraries. So that we went to go observe. So don't think we were out there protesting and yelling at people, because that's not what happened. We stayed in the corners and we were watching and observing, and that was it. Thank you.
Thanks. Ms. Kane? Okay, she's not. There's a lot of people on here. Margaret Erickson wishes to discuss the removal of Councilmember Kelly and the question of suitability to serve. Margaret Erickson? They can't find her, so let's go to Crystal Erickson Collins, wishes to speak on the censure of Councilman Kelly. His comments about teachers were unprofessional and demean the council and the city which he represents, as well as being disrespectful and mean towards other public servants.
Point of inquiry, Mr. Mayor, was that just a comment, or is she scheduled to speak?
She's scheduled to speak.
Do we have an address on?
We're going to do all the scheduled to speaks first, and all the ones that have just signed up with comments later.
Hello.
He's trying to speak.
Okay.
I hear a voice.
Her, she lives in Cedar Park at 301 Water Oak. Okay, Miss.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Christelle Erickson Collins. I live in Cedar Park. I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity tonight. I come from a family that values service, and so I admire your service as council people. I grew up being told and believing that giving back to our communities is our obligation and privilege, that to whom much has been given, so also much is expected. So most of us chose service professions. I chose social work, my brother chose teaching, and my sister nursing. We understand that our salaries would not be the highest, that we may have to work holidays, that we would not be considered the highest status in the community. Service jobs mean that you work underfunded. The job is never done, and often you must deal with heartache and trauma. Those who choose these jobs deserve our respect, admiration, and assistance. It is with a heavy heart that I read the words that Councilman Kelly wrote about our teachers. Those who love and nurture our children, teach them the alphabet, the value of sharing, teach them calculus and how to respect themselves and their peers. Councilman Kelly, I believe you cannot know any teachers to have said what you did. At minimum, it was mean and beneath the position that you hold. At worst, it was abuse of power to intimidate and threaten. When you become a civil servant, you forfeit the right to be only a citizen as you assume the role of representative for the entire city. And Councilman Kelly, you have dishonored and hurt us all. Unfortunately, this is not the first time that this has occurred. And while I cannot know what is in your heart, I can say that apologizing and continuing to transgress makes further apology ring hollow. To restore the honor to the council and to heal the breach in the community, I believe you should resign. Thank you.
And just a point of fact, Mr. Mayor. Point of fact?
Sure.
Yeah. So once again, if you'd read the article and saw my comments in context, you'd understand that teachers are not leeches. Our teachers here in Texas are a step above. The article was about other cities and other states. We do not have teachers' unions in the state of Texas. So who needs to be terminated and fired are those union leaders and the stewards, and they need to be replaced by higher quality teachers in those positions. That is exactly what the post was about. I love my teachers. My son wants to get back to school too. He's got music lessons and he loves that.
Thanks. Mr. Margaret Marquez wishes to speak on teachers and what teachers do every day. Okay, Ms. Marquez, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I truly believe that when you speak about any teacher, Mr. Kelly, you are speaking about all teachers, no matter where they live or whether they are in a union. So I just wanted to tell you what teachers do. Teachers change lives. Cliche, I know, but it's true, and I know that because I've been living it for 27 years. Let me give you a little insight. Teachers keep snacks in our classrooms for kids who come to school hungry. We let students nap when we know that they need it, and then we catch them up later when they wake up. Teachers devote our lives to the service of our students. We become family to many. Years later, we receive graduation announcements, wedding invitations, and baby shower invitations, to which I've been to many. Teachers mentor many, and many we mentor for years after they leave our classrooms. We teach children how to learn and how to think critically. We do more every year with less. Teachers create engaging lessons. We differentiate every lesson for the students who need it. We share with other teachers. We document. We input and interpret endless amounts of data to make our teaching better. We attend meetings and participate in conferences with parents early in the morning, late at night, or during our lunch and planning periods. Teachers are the copy repair person, the cheerleaders, the parents, the detectives, the librarians, the judge, the banker, the custodian, the web designer, IT tech, counselor, nurse, and social worker. We clean, we wipe noses, we teach kids how to blow their noses, we celebrate wiggly teeth and deal with bloody noses. We make the littlest victories seem like the greatest of accomplishments. Teachers teach kids technology for this
Ms. Marquez, I'm sorry, you have 1 minute remaining. Thank you.
Thank you. Teachers teach kids technology for this often changing world of technology. We scour the library for books to go with lessons. Teachers do so much. We spend our own money on things like Fruit Loops or baking soda and vinegar to make lessons more exciting. We fill out daily reports for individual students. And I know I'm running out of time, so I'm going to have to cut some of my things short, but you all know what teachers do. Teachers believe in the potential of all of their students. And most days we do all this before lunch. We are not leeches. We give our all to our professors who want the best for our children. And on a side note, if I posted something radically divisive on my personal Facebook page, I would probably be fired. Last thing, thank you, Mr. Kelly, because I believe now teachers will finally take the time out of their busy schedules to get out and vote.
Thank you, Ms. Marquez.
And just a point of fact again, Mr. Mayor, I know I really appreciate your input there. Thank you very much for that. I know that you also appreciate those who are in charter schools and all of our kids that are in charter schools too. Thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor, before we continue, you know, something's bothering me. In all the times in the past that we've allowed citizen comments, I know it shows up on your list who's a resident and who's not, but I kind of think it's a little intimidating for people to give up their addresses and phone numbers. They're worried about people contacting them, and I think it's asking a little too much of people. Since we never asked for it before, why are we asking for it tonight?
Yeah, well, how about we just, let's do it as a motion. Let's just go ahead and resolve it as a council right here. What's your motion, Mr. Kirkland? Do you want to know where they're at, what city they're from, or are you just worried about the street, or what do you? I mean, it's all public record. Someone can go get it if they want it. Robert's Rules of Order, which is what we're under, doesn't require this. So what do you?
That you only release city.
I think Robert's Rules of Orders does state that.
No.
However,
clear, Mayor, that you didn't know, so we were just going to go ahead and do it. So now what changed?
Well, because we actually just sort of decided without actually voting on it. So Mr. Mel's Kirkland's got a motion to only read out the city, which is what we normally do.
Yes. We've been doing that for years. Why are we changing tonight?
No, we have not. We
Is
did
there
not.
a second?
When I got on council, we did not do that. We were reading off everything. But
Is there a second? Okay, I'll second.
Any discussion?
Any discussion of Mr. Kirkland's motion to, as we go through these witnesses, to read off the city, but not like their phone number and their actual address. Any discussion? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, actually, you know, I understand certainly where Councilman Kirkland's coming on this with regard to the intimidation, but based on what this item is, and you know what the people have been representing, and because it is in our rules, I think that we should follow the rules to have the people's name and where they're in their address and the city. Phone numbers and stuff I don't necessarily care about, but address and the city they live in. So as the motion is from Mr. Kirkland, I'm not in favor of it.
Well, so just FYI, we're no longer under our rules. We're under Robert's.
Right, we're under Robert's rules, and it does state that.
Yeah. Councilmember Guevara, would you be okay with just a street address without a number?
I'd be fine with that.
And Rodney, where are you at?
I'm okay with the complete address minus the phone number.
Okay. Are you okay with that, Mel?
I would prefer city and street.
Okay. You want
Nothing
to do
else.
the city and the street because your motion was for just the city.
Yes, I will amend my motion for the city and the street.
Okay. I'll second your motion, city and street.
And just to be clear, all the other information is part of the public record, correct? We're just
Yes.
going to forego saying it at the meeting. Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Kelly? For voting.
Aye.
Ms. Duffy?
Aye.
Mr. Guevara?
Aye.
Ms. Kirkland?
Aye.
Mr. Robinson?
Aye.
Chavez?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. That passed 7-0. Okay. Mr. Edelman? Cedar
Mayor.
Park 1207 Birdie Cove wishes to address the words and devices of Councilmember Tim Kelly.
Mayor, after this individual is done, can I say something?
Is that Cedar Park?
Yes.
Thank you.
And yes and yes. We have Mr. Edelman?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. So this comment that everybody's talking about is but one of the many colorful comments made by Councilmember Tim Kelly during his time in office. He has every right to say it. He has every right to try and explain it in the context he claims he intended. We have every right to speak out against his words. Like so many things across today's political landscape, this incident falls under the silence is acceptance reality we live in. Because of that, I will not remain silent and will tell you, Mr. Kelly, that your comment was at best insensitive to some of the people most important in our lives today. People with political views of Mr. Kelly like terms like leeches. It allows them to perpetuate the idea that there are Americans who are not doing their part or contributing. My suggestion would be for you to line up to help out at a Leander ISD campus of your choosing when school starts this fall. Show us that the reality most of us are trying to deal with is some conspiratorial fantasy that you were called to crusade against. Mr. Kelly has a history of comments and shared views that we should all be sharing and calling attention to. It is important for Cedar Park voters to know that he uses his social media voice on conspiracy theories and spends his time attacking those with a more liberal leaning. He weaves together references to Iran, witches, mask, COVID cures, and whatever left-wing political buzzwords he can muster to perpetuate fear and conspiracy. To ever try and tie any of those issues to localized politics is ridiculous and proves he doesn't really know his role as a council member. Worry about roads, wastewater plants, parks, and contributing to the passing of a sound budget. To be honest, I don't know much about your politics as it pertains to leading a city. And as I scan your social media page, I don't get many hints. Why not put some of that energy into local issues of real significance here in Cedar Park?
Mr. Edelman, sorry, you have one more minute.
Yes, sir. Thank you. What the City Park Council chooses to say or do this evening is a matter of council business based on what it believes is most representative of the people of this city. I say carry on. I, for one, hope you further amplify your voice and dig your heels in just as you have so that we can make sure and remind people at every turn what you stand for and the divisive fear-mongering you rely on. Remember, you represent me. When your words give this community a black eye across the country, you have a responsibility for that as a public figure. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one is Jessica Bird.
Mayor.
Leander. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Guevara, you're right. You want to speak.
Thank you. I actually have a point of inquiry. Sitting here, and I apologize, this is probably going to be a little all over the place. It probably is the city attorney and me that, although I believe that as the elected officials, as the governing body of the city, that the individuals of the city have the responsibility and the right to address us as councils. We're governed not only by our rules, but also by the Texas Open Meeting Act, which we have an agenda item that is posted. And with all due respect to Mr. Kirkland, and I said before the motion about moving forward is I wanted to hear what he would have to say. I haven't heard any concrete allegations that go to the violations that are alleged on the agenda item. Although, Ms. Marquez got on there, and I think if I made a motion that teachers are awesome, I think it'd be 7-0. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. But I didn't hear anything from Mr. Kirkland, and I haven't heard anything so far from many of the citizens of the public that falls under the purview of any action that the council could take. There needs to be some type of an actual item on there that the council's being asked to look at, and not just, and to use a word, not just a smear campaign against one of our council members. Right or wrong, I don't condone the use of leeches for any reason, whether it's unions or whatever, calling any group or individual names. But our charter and it sets out specifically how a council member can forfeit their position, and that's the 306. And as I was going to bring that up, I don't see anything in there. And if you look at 11.09, which this is under, the general provision is the one that says personal interest and conflict of the interest of the city, and that kept being used over and over again. But if you look at what the prohibited acts are in C, I haven't heard any specific allegation of what the prohibited acts are. And since we're bound by the Texas Open Meeting, I think we need to limit it to what that is. So I don't know, city attorney, if we need to get some clarification on that. I hate to put this, but like I said, as the city attorney part, the Texas Open Meeting Act is bugging me about moving forward the way that we're moving forward.
Well, keep in mind, we're also posted for discussion of violation of our core values and goals. That's pretty tough.
Yeah, I second that, what Mr. Guevara had stated, by the way.
Yeah. So discussion about our core values and goals. I know you're kind of zoning in on the charter section and the rules, which we're not even under our rules anymore. And Robert's rules does allow for censure.
Sure.
We haven't heard everyone speak either, but I would be happy to read through some of our core values and council goals if you think it would help know the subject matter.
Sure, and I think that's kind of what I was looking for from Councilman Kirkland is there, because it was cited goals and values. I didn't hear that reference. I just heard that language about the personal interest and conflicts of the interest of the city over and over again. Like I said, that's as general, and if you look at what the prohibited acts are, I didn't see anything fall under 1109. So that's my question. That's my point of view.
Yeah, I don't know.
What are we doing?
I don't know if there will be anything that falls under 1109 or not.
Mr. Mayor, if you like, I could add.
No, that's okay. You can't add anything. Sorry. What did you say, Mr. Mayor? I missed you, Mr. Mayor, because you and Councilmember Guevara were talking over each other. I didn't quite hear.
Hang on, Tim. I'm going to read a couple of excerpts of our core values so that people understand what some of them are. One of them is community. We strive to improve, promote, and help the community where we work and live. We are bridge builders. Leadership. We provide positive.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. This is the time for a discussion from
in a direction
the
follows our community vision. Professionalism. We promote fairness, dignity, and respect for our customers and our workforce. Integrity. We are honorable, fair, and sincere, and strive to uphold our organizational values with our decisions and in our actions. We understand that trust is earned through good character. That's some of our core values. When you look at our strategic goals, one of them is safety is top of mind. Our community feels safe, secure, and comfortable, and we enhance our citizen safety level. One of them is strong community connections, encourage and expand civic engagement and understanding of government to inspire trust and confidence. One of them is operational and fiscal excellence, to deliver high-quality services in a fiscally responsible manner and attract and retain a qualified workforce. One of them is open here, grow here, actively recruit new employers, actively recruit target industries and employers, and retain businesses. Link people, places, and things. Improve transportation mobility, implement the roadway master plan, advance 183A frontage roads, expand pedestrian and bike networks. That's the subject matter we are posted to discuss, and anything Mr. Kelly's done that applies to any of these items.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your opening comment, of which there is none on the agenda.
That was an opening comment. That was a response to Mr. Guevara's inquiry.
Yeah, that was an open comment, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, right now we have Mrs. Birch, who's from Leander, 1410 Rio Bravo Loop, and wishes to advocate for teachers.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi. So I, not only have I been a teacher for 5 years, but I have many friends and family members who teach in Cedar Park. I'm here this evening to address some of the hurtful and harmful statements that were made by Councilmember Tim Kelly via Facebook. In Mr. Kelly's post referring to teachers, he stated, "Do not cater to the leeches, fire them, and rehire new teachers. Parents do not have to put up with being held hostage by union leaders demanding unreasonable and imprudent continuations of ruinous lockdown policies." I first want to address the choice of vocabulary used by Mr. Kelly. A leech is a parasitic or predatory worm that attaches himself to a host and proceeds to suck its blood. Leeches take in order to survive. How can a teacher be held equivalent to a blood-sucking worm when all we do is give? We give our time, our energy, our own money, and our hearts to our profession. When we are not with our students, we continue to give hours preparing lesson plans, analyzing data, and collaborating with each other to ensure our students are receiving high-quality instruction. Just because the last bell rings does not mean that a teacher's day is done. We often buy snacks for our classroom for the students who become hungry, school supplies for the students who need extra, and materials so that our students have an inviting environment in which to thrive. We are in a profession where when we go home, we find ourselves thinking about the well-being of our students because we want them to succeed. I just don't see how a teacher who gives so much of him or herself is the same as a parasite that does nothing but take from others. Second, I think it's absolutely appalling that a member of the Cedar Park Council is calling for thousands of teachers to lose their jobs, fire them, and rehire new teachers. It irks me to know that someone who is supposed to be working for the good of the community appears to be perfectly fine with placing more families into financial peril. Is that the kind of person who should be allowed in a leadership role? And finally, the comment about how parents are being held hostage by the union leaders does nothing except to increase the tension between parents and teachers. These are unprecedented times, and no one knows the correct way to handle the situation that the pandemic has left us in.
Ms. Birch, you have 1 more minute.
Yes, but pointing fingers and accusing teachers of being the problem hinders that parent-teacher relationship that is so crucial for the success of our students. These comments divide, not unify. What was said is hurtful towards teachers and harmful for the Cedar Park community. I do want to take a moment to say thank you to Mayor Van Arsdale, Rodney Robertson, and Duffy, and Mel Kirkland, as well as others on the council who shared their own apologies or discontent with what was said and all that it represents. It is refreshing to know that not all members share such views, and for that I am deeply and truly grateful. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And again, as a point of fact, all of my children have gone through LISD, and I still have one who's working his way. And the article, in fact, that part which was parents are being held hostage or unions, whatever it was actually out of the article. So I would encourage you to read the entire article. It doesn't have anything to do with Leander, or Leander ISD or Texas. It is all about other states where they have a union stronghold. Thank you.
Okay, Tony Moline, our Chamber President, CEO, wishes to address Councilmember Kelly.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, great. Again, my name is Tony Moline. I'm with the Cedar Park Chamber of Commerce. It is important for me to mention the Chamber is nonpartisan, and we believe we have an obligation to remain nonpartisan. We also believe we have a responsibility to speak out on what is happening in our community. In the Chamber's published legislative priorities, which were adopted in February of this year, we support Leander ISD, Austin Community College, and our educational partners' ability to use common sense approaches with regards to educating our learners, funding our district, and supporting our staff. It is the support of staff and learners that I believe mandates the Chamber's involvement tonight. Chamber of Commerce believes that LISD Board of Trustees, administrators, staff, and parents are working together to find those common sense approaches. While these approaches may not be right for everybody, we believe good faith efforts have been and are continuing to be made for the majority of those involved. I sent a letter to council members about 2 weeks ago. In that letter, I mentioned we are an advocate for pro-business, pro-jobs, pro-growth policies. I also mentioned there must be cooperation and effective communication among elected officials. Such communication can lead to innovative, successful collaborations. Whether intentional or unintentional, we do not feel there has been effective and collaborative communication between some of our elected officials. The Chamber feels this needs to be addressed. We don't all have to agree, but we should all strive to effectively communicate. We should listen to each other's points of view. Please listen to each other more and communicate with each other effectively. Some of the mentions of Cedar Park in the newspaper and on television have been less than positive recently. This directly impacts the current and future business community. It impacts the way city staff can effectively function doing their jobs, and it impacts small and large businesses alike. The Cedar Park Chamber supports LISD, ACC, and all of our partners in education in their ability to make decisions on how to best reopen our places of learning in a safe way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Mullane. Question. One of our city park strategic goals is to open here, grow here, actively recruit new employers, and retain businesses. Is this type of behavior affecting that goal, in your opinion?
In my opinion,
I thought we weren't allowed to question citizens when they came to speak.
This is not public comment.
That is correct. You're out of order, Mr. Mayor.
This is a posted agenda item, not public comments, guys. Come on.
You're out of order, Mr. Mayor. You cannot interact with. You can't interact. That's a standard.
This is not public comments, guys. This is a posted item. City Attorney, will you please educate these guys?
Yes, the council may engage in discussion with members of the public so long as it pertains to the item as posted on the agenda.
Thank you. One of our posted goals is open here, grow here, actively recruit new employers. And the question is and retain businesses that we have here. And is this, in your opinion, affecting our ability to do that goal?
In my opinion, I do believe this makes it harder. When businesses want to move or relocate here, they start paying attention before they make that decision. They will put in, City of Cedar Park in their Google, analytics and start getting any kind of news story that has Cedar Park associated with it. So yes, I do believe that it does make it a little more difficult.
Have you heard from any of your members about this type stuff, or?
Yes, sir, I have.
What are they saying?
They're concerned, I think, about the back and forth, and I think that they are concerned about the continuation of what Cedar Park has really become known as. Cedar Park is a great place to move your business and to raise a family, and so a lot of the comments again are anecdotal, but there are a lot of concerns out there, and we have heard from them.
Well, thank you, Mr. Moline. I also have a question for you. Do you believe that what's going on right now is a direct result of a future election that probably should have already been over, and it might be a problem with the actual leadership and division that is on the council? And I'll ask a follow-up too.
I do believe that there's a lot of concern about the division on council. As far as the election, that hasn't been part of what I've heard. No, sir.
Okay, Mr. Rob Merrick wishes from Cedar Park, Tremont Drive, wishes to address Mr. Kelly's resignation and negative actions and comments towards the citizens of Cedar Park. Mr. Merrick? Are you there?
Mr. Merrick, yes, I'm here.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Sorry, I had a second follow-up for Mr. Moline. I'm sorry, I must have had the mute off.
Okay.
Mr. Kelly's talking again.
No, Mr. Merrick, the floor is yours. We'll try to get Mr. Moline back.
Thank you.
Mr. Merrick?
Yes, so Mr. Kelly, first and foremost, does not speak for Cedar Park or speak for me. Mr. Kelly, you need to learn to talk less. You need to listen more. Your words, they have meaning. And you have said that teachers who do not return to work should be, and I'm going to quote you, fire them and rehire new teachers. These are your words, Mr. Kelly. Now, these are dangerous comments during a time when we have so much division in our community. You are not showing support to unite, but to show a history to want to divide us. Your comments have not been taken out of context. We have taken them for exactly what you meant. You claim that you are not directing these at Texas teachers, but at unions? Why are you publicly making comments towards unions and items that do not have anything to do with Texas when we are here trying to decide what to do in our own community? Your words have indicated that you feel teachers need to return back to work or they should be fired by the Leander School District, and that the economy in Leander needs to reopen. Your actions going to the state capitol, for example, during the Alex Jones protests show you are not happy about what has gone on and transpired. I understand these things may be against your beliefs, but what you have done is injected your opinion into the policy that you want to enforce, and then are asking us to double down and read into what you really mean. You're not speaking for us, you're speaking for yourself. I yield my time.
So I have a point of fact also, and number one, I had no idea who was doing that rally down at the Capitol building. It popped up on my Facebook page, and I saw it, and I figured I'd go. And two, I comment on most of my comments and posts are about national issues, and just like this Texas or the post that was put out on Monday, I believe, and finally caught fire around Wednesday or Tuesday or whenever it was. The article is not about Texas. It's not about Leander. It's not about LISD. It's not about Texas teachers. It's very clear. Looking at my page, you see a plethora, whether it's Wisconsin, California, Maryland, Florida. I post articles and I leave comments, and I thank you.
I think we have Mr. Moline back. Tony, can you hear?
Yes, sir. Can y'all hear me?
Tim had some questions for you.
Yeah, no, just one more. Tony.
Yes, sir.
And that was, so in your time being, in the business of businesses, I guess you could say.
Yes, sir.
When this time of the year always comes around, which is typically an election period, and then also afterwards, isn't spirited debate part of the political process, whether it's positive or negative?
So what was the question you were asking me?
Yeah, is spirited debate that occurs typically positive or negative? And it normally always occurs in the political season, election season.
In the time that I've been doing this, there's obviously spirited debate. It is, I would say, for the most part, more positive than it has been in the last few months. And I have, it feels very divisive. And from the anecdotal stories I'm getting from a lot of businesses, it just feels a little more divisive than usual. And I think there are a lot of concerns about, I guess, the well-being of council. Not to say that there's anything wrong, but council isn't functioning as well as it has. I'm sorry, Mr. Kelly, I can't hear you. Mr. Kelly, I can't hear you.
So also there is, so I would agree, there is a lot of stress going on that's happening just nationwide again. Well, we won't go into what that is, but certainly there is stress, and that's even fueling more debate. So what I guess my final question would be, wouldn't it be great to have leaders that absolutely just get along 100% of the time? Would they prefer also that these businesses not get phone calls from mayors and try to twist their arm to do something, or do the businesses like government involvement into their business?
To your first question, yes, it would absolutely be great if everything was positive all the time. And yes, I do believe that would ease tensions a lot. As far as businesses interacting with public officials, you run the gamut on that. There are a lot of businesses who are happy to be left alone. and there are a lot of businesses who obviously want to get more involved and don't mind being approached by leaders such as people like you who ask other businesses to get on boards and commissions. So I think that is a very broad question, and you run both sides of it for sure.
Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate you coming back in there, Mr. Moline, and you're the president of the chamber. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So just one more comment and thanks again, Tony. Just one more comment. This most likely wouldn't be happening if the election was in May. And just as a point of fact, the individual who submitted this agenda item and the person who sets up the agenda item, the mayor and place two, Mr. Kirkman, are up for election this year. And it would not have come to this point if the election had happened in May, because I truly believe they both would have been removed. Thank you.
Yeah. Tony, do you remember anything like this, even close to this, happening before May of 2019? Since you've been around the city council?
I do remember there being times of debate, but
No, I'm not asking about that. I'm asking about 75 people signed up asking somebody to resign.
No, sir, not since I've been here.
So that happened. That stuff started happening in May of 2019. Is when all these things people are talking about started happening.
Yes, sir. Since I've been here since 2012, I've never seen that I recall 75 people signing up for any single agenda item. The chickens were one of the hot topic items, but not nearly 75. So.
Yeah, but that. I think the chickens. I was before my time even, but that was more of an issue. This is more of a council member's action. So I think it magically happened right about the time Councilmember Kelly showed up on the city council. The next person we have is Shirley O'Derryberry from Cedar Park. Live Do we have her on the line? Okay, Shirley, are you there? She wishes to speak about Tim Kelly stating that the teachers' unions are what harms the schools and people of the community. I beg to differ with him. In Texas, there are no unions, teachers' unions. We can't strike or bargain in other parts of as we can in other parts of the country. These statements are harmful to our teachers and families at Cedar Park. LISD has worked tirelessly to take care of our school district. Mr. Kelly should be asked to resign in good faith and heal the wounds that he's opened, not only here, but the rest of Cedar Park.
Hi, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is good. I've gone back to the posting about the city's core values. My family's probably been here longer than most of you, even on the council, because we go back to one high school, 2 elementaries, and 1 junior high. And we go back to when the school district was literally on the verge of falling apart. And the people of Cedar Park, Leander, voted to an enormous amount of money to pull it back into shape. And the teachers have worked tirelessly to bring it into the situation that it is now, which is an amazing school district. And to have anyone disparage the teachers, whether it's taken out of context from a whole big article into a truncated force part that has happened with Mr. Kelly's article that may be longer, but that small part has hurt the teachers, the citizens of Cedar Park so badly that it is a shame. No, it's I want to use one of my husband's West Texasism, but I'm not going to do it. That it hurts me to my inner soul, because Cedar Park is embedded in our family. It has been forever. I think that we just should not go there, that he has been disrespectful this whole evening, has been discourteous to the people that have been talking. but to be that discourteous to the teachers and to
Shirley, I'm sorry, I just want to let you know you have 1 minute remaining.
Yeah, he keeps saying, he keeps going back, but this whole article was bigger than that. No, the people are you're associating us with teachers' unions. We're not teachers' unions. You're calling us leeches, things who are bloodsuckers. Teachers are not. I taught for 36 years. No, we spend our own money. We take care of these kids. We see them sometimes even die when they're 4 years old because of father who killed them. No, we're not leeches. We take care of them. We use our own monies. And to say the things that you have said, even take it out of context as you might think, is abhorrent. And you should really rethink how you think about Cedar Park. Because Cedar Park, 30 years, almost 40 years ago, is not like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley.
And just point of fact again, thank you, Shirley, for letting me know. Yes, I absolutely do love our teachers in Leander. I have the utmost respect for them, just like I have the utmost respect for teachers in charter schools, and probably the same, if not more, amount of respect for moms and dads who homeschool. Thank you so much.
Okay, Michelle Vance Osborne wishes from Cedar Park, Mancuso Bent, or wishes to speak as a citizen of Cedar Park about the public comments made by Tim Kelly.
Good evening. I've never spoken at any city council meeting in any city that I have ever lived in before. I have been a resident of Cedar Park for the last 19 years. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to this issue. It was overwhelming and shocking to me to hear a city council member speak so negatively about educators. Whether in Texas or not, your comments lead the parents of our community to believe that teachers are not concerned about their families. Mr. Kelly, you speak negatively about our learning communities when you call teachers leeches. This is my 22nd year in schools in one capacity or another. And being a diabetic, I will be returning in fear, and I am truly risking my life to do so. I am not a leech. Disruptions before the public comment portion prove that you do not respect the people who pay taxes in our city, no matter who they voted for. I have a First Amendment right to speak to this issue and demand respect for our learning communities. I yield the remainder of my time, and thank you.
Thank you. Michelle Kane, Cedar Park, Monaco Drive. I think she signed up, but we couldn't. She had an issue with her mute button. Wishes to address the council on Tim Kelly's behavior in public comments going against the core values of the City Council of Cedar Park, and that he should be recalled.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I hope Mr. Kelly does not choose to interrupt my time as he has yours. My name is Michelle Kane, and I'm a parent, teacher, and resident in Cedar Park. I would like to thank Ms. Duffy and Mr. Van Arsdale both for their kind responses to my email to the council last week. Thank you, Mr. Kirkland, for bringing this to a special meeting for the council. It's a shame that it took disparaging comments about educators, or as Mr. Kelly attempts to backtrack, their union representatives in other states, to bring about this meeting. Mr. Kelly has made many divisive and vitriolic remarks regarding the citizens of Cedar Park, comments that, over time, show his true feelings for their constituents. I'm here to speak on these issues. Since his election last May, Mr. Kelly has repeatedly used his platform as a city representative to denigrate members of marginalized groups in and around our city and to spread far-right propaganda. His posts and ensuing comments on teachers and the teaching profession was just the latest in his pattern of attacks on the residents of Cedar Park. And since everyone is so used to teachers being quiet, flexible, and accommodating, he thought he could get away with it. Tim Kelly can attempt to backtrack all he wants, but it is a fact that he personally responded to my email to the council, with his council email, by the way, with the quote, "Perhaps teachers should get back to work." What, as if we aren't? The majority of teachers are working hard now and have been most of the summer, even while not contractually obligated to do so. His response to me and the very public comments made on his very public Facebook post show his true feelings. So your attempt at a half-hearted apology has failed, Mr. Kelly. As a veteran teacher, it is my job to ensure that my students feel welcomed and loved, regardless of their religion or lack thereof, their sexual orientation, their gender identity, race, or their ethnicity. It is not my job to judge them, but to take each student as they come to me and help them become the best versions of themselves. In my classroom, we work to respect everyone, to allow everyone the space to have a voice. Of course, we may have disagreements, but we aim to do so courteously. We don't interrupt. We are all human and all deserve to be treated with respect and civility. It is disheartening to see that prominent and vocal members of our city leadership choose to speak ill of those they do not agree with instead of simply treating them as human beings and giving them the esteem they deserve. Mr. Kelly, plain and simply, is a troll. Bringing in members of...
Ms. Kane, you have 1 more minute left. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bringing in members of InfoWars to city council meetings, spreading misinformation and inflammatory sources is so much of what is wrong with our world right now. Claiming he will run for the school board after teachers responded to his inflammatory post, or maybe that's just more trolling? Unfortunately, he is choosing his 15 minutes of fame to troll the city of Cedar Park and its residents. It is my request that there be a recall election to replace Tim Kelly for place 1. We have no room for trolls in our city government. Thank you.
Okay, we now have Annabelle Burleson.
So just a point of fact, Mr. Mayor, I am not a troll, and I have the ability, like everyone, to convey their political beliefs, no matter what it is. And I completely respect and thank her for calling in, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Another point of fact and clarification is that City Council we do not have official social media accounts or city pages that we run or operate. Those are our personal pages.
Okay, we have Annabelle Burleson.
Just real quick, a point of fact also. Just real quick, Mr. Mayor, point of fact, I actually do have a separate Facebook page for just city council business.
Okay. Annabelle Burleson from Austin Pompton Drive wishes to address Tim Kelly.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Yes, I live in North Austin, Travis County, but I have followed for quite some time Mr. Kelly's shenanigans in Cedar Park. I'm a former teacher of 16 years, and I find his comments extremely offensive. A leech is a person who clings to another person for personal gain without giving anything in return. Unlike leeches, our teachers are first responders. They are just as important to our communities as firefighters, EMTs, police, doctors, and nurses. Teachers are most often the first to see and act upon malnutrition of the children in their classes, children who lack good hygiene, children who have issues, social emotional issues, and they're also often the first to see and report those unexplained bumps, bruises, and broken bones that come from home. How dare you demean these valuable community members, Mr. Kelly? You, Mr. Kelly, are the leech of Cedar Park, using your title on the city council to your advantage and giving nothing back in return to your community.
Let's not call each names and
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Miss Sarah Ferguson, Cedar Park? Nope. Okay. Stephanie Martin? Stephanie Martin, Austin, Pocono Drive.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi.
You hear it?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Martin. I'm proud to be a teacher in Leander ISD and proud to represent my union in my comments tonight. I'm a member of the Texas State Teachers Association Education Leander chapter.
Mr. Kelly recently commented on a public Facebook page that union members are leeches and teachers advocating for a later, safer start to in-person instruction should be fired and replaced. These comments were insulting and ignorant. I'm a teacher, so I hope to educate you tonight. Teachers are trained, highly skilled professionals. There is a science and an art to teaching that educators spend years perfecting. Our professional lives move in cycles of authoring curriculum and assessment, teaching, observing, collecting data, reflecting, adjusting, rewriting curriculum, and on because school years end, but learning doesn't. Amidst that deeply intellectual and creative work, we are loving our students, delighting in what they create, finding the hidden gems in their writing and naming them, feeding them when they come to us hungry, holding them when they cry, giving them space when they feel angry, listening to them when they feel stressed, flexing and accommodating them when they just plain need a break, as we all do from time to time, and making a place for joy to happen in every class. In the midst of a global pandemic, our community is counting on us now more than ever to innovate and engage our students, and also to provide them with stability, warmth, and peer interaction. We are excited to rise to the occasion. Although we are currently off contract, we are Zooming, planning, doing professional development, shopping, attending book clubs, and organizing club meetings. We can't help ourselves. As soon as Target creates the school supplies section, our minds start racing with the possibilities of a fresh new year. I will soon have the privilege to welcome 130 students into my virtual classroom, into my heart, my thoughts, my dinner time conversation.
Ms. Martin, you have one more minute left. Thank you.
I hope you can start to understand why suggesting that just anyone can step into this role, that every teacher can be replaced tomorrow, is offensive. As an organizing member of TSTA Education Leander, I want to teach you about how our union works. First of all, Texas is a right-to-work state. It is illegal for us to collectively bargain or strike. We can have our teaching credentials and pensions taken from us if we break this law. I also want you to know that unions are simply a group of people who decided it is more impactful if we speak together as a group and support each other. We are advocating for our students and for our fellow employees when we ask that in-person school be delayed until it is safe to gather together again. We educators want to have a healthy year and return to teaching in the communities and district we love and are proud to work for. We want our students and families to have a healthy year too. We ask for a delay in reopening school
Okay,
buildings.
Ms. Martin, please wrap it up. Thank you.
Because that is what the experts tell us will prevent further spread of COVID-19. No one wants to bury a colleague or worse, a student this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Jonathan Edwards, Cedar Park, Davis Mountain Loop, wishes to ask for the removal or censure of Mr. Kelly from the Cedar Park City Council.
Can y'all hear me all right?
Yes.
Once again, we find ourselves at the intersection of anger and embarrassment over the comments of Mr. Kelly as he throws the city of Cedar Park in the gutter. Councilman Kelly, your recent comments regarding teachers are frankly disgusting. To be fair, I read the opinion piece you linked and came to no other conclusion that demanding teachers to return into an environment of unknowns and with no guarantee of safety is immoral and wrong, and your comments, frankly, were vile. Their unions are doing what they should, voicing their concerns, and unions are an important part of protection for many workers. I know many teachers and can say unequivocally that they are some of the finest, most selfless individuals I have ever met. They work long hours, exceeding the normal work week regularly, to create engaging classrooms to better all of our futures by creating amazing, knowledgeable, thinking children. Way underpaid, they do this in a budgetary situation where they are routinely forced to dip into their own pockets to give children the best experience. They are the very definition of a selfless civil servant whose sacrifices are for the betterment of all, a lesson that you so desperately need to learn. I wish that I could stand here and say that this was your first offense, but sadly, this is just the latest in a long line of short-sighted, ignorant commentary from you. Time and time again, you scream out about being bullied, all the while you name-call members of the community and your fellow council members. You make comments online about people's rights with their children or what they do for a living. You have insinuated through your posts that I and others in the community are witches, communists, and more. And that is nothing compared to some of the folks that had your anger leveled at them. You claim to be fighting fascism while telling everyone in your community how they should think. the mark of people like Stalin and Mussolini. You run through Facebook screaming, "Look out, the commies are in our city," like a next generation Joseph McCarthy. And what's worse is you act as an echo chamber for whatever non-verified extremist nonsense source you found on the internet, while completely disregarding what science and people that dedicate their lives to knowing these sorts of things have told you. To quote one of my favorite authors, William Shakespeare, "The lady doth protest too much, methinks." I was introduced to Shakespeare by one of my many positive teachers that had such an amazing impact on my life. So
Mr. Edwards, you have 1 minute left. Thank you.
To the council, I ask that you move to, at bare minimum, censure Mr. Kelly, but hopefully remove him from office, since he does not seem to get the message that his constituents have routinely, loudly said: resign. His attacks on citizens of this city and now some of the wonderful employees of the city must be stopped. Between this and the constant stream of misinformation and slander, he has to go. He is endangering the freedom, the peace of every citizen of this city, and I beg you to put a stop to it. And finally, to anyone and everyone brave enough to become a teacher, I say thank you, as do all 5 of my children. Your influence on my children is magical, and your lessons and love are helping them to be better people. You are treasured heroes to my family.
Thank you. Okay, Sarah Ferguson, Cedar Park, wishes to address the public actions against citizens with teacher careers and the history she has eyewitnessed for core city values violation.
Can you hear me now, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and esteemed council members. I hope Mr. Kelly does not disrespect me like he has you all today. I'm here today to share my thoughts about agenda item B. As a civil servant, a nurse in this community, I do want to go on record saying that I disagree with Mr. Kelly's choice to violate health and safety orders of Williamson County surrounding COVID-19. But my focus thoughts today are to address an incident that I personally witnessed in person, not online, not in any other form of communication, and not on social media. But before I recite that, I first want to ask a rhetorical question for my council. What has happened to the covenant between us, the people, and our local government? Why has it become so painful? I, Sarah Ferguson, nurse and advocate for the autistic community, witnessed the councilman break covenant between we the people on December 11th, 2019 at Hill Country Bible Church located on Ranch Road 620 in Austin, Texas, while attending the Chamber of Commerce luncheon where you, Mr. Mayor, addressed the citizens about the state of the city. That day, I was graciously seated at the front of the room at one of the tables not far from Mr. Kelly. While seated and speaking to other citizens at my table, Mr. Kelly approached my table from behind and walked up to the lady sitting directly to the left of me, which I was speaking with, by the name of Heather Jeffs. I watched as she started to stand and extend her handshake to him, but he did not shake the hand. He gripped it and then used his other hand to restrain her back into her chair. He then proceeded to lean down towards the table as if something important was about to be said. I hear him speak her words, or words that essentially said, "I look forward to ruining you and Richie." He grabbed the hand again and another tight squeeze before he retreated to his nearby table, satisfied with his display of power. It is my understanding that Mrs. Jeffs did report the incident to local authorities, much to my relief and encouragement to do so. This I would classify in the community as verbal and physical abuse, as well as gaslighting. This incident, along with the recent events surrounding COVID and now my precious teachers, is an example of a borderless and unruly government behavior towards its people and ordinary citizens. Mr. Mayor and esteemed councilman, of Mr. Kelly, based on my consistent and unethical seeing of Mr. Kelly's actions in this community. Thank you.
Okay. Michelle Thompson, Georgetown, Monahans Drive, wishes to speak about Mr. Kelly's attacks.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Hi, Michelle Thompson. Thank you very much. This is the third time I have spoken at the Cedar Park City Council. Did I speak for some city project or road needing a stoplight? No. I came to speak about Tim Kelly's and Mr. Chavez's behaviors. I came to ask them to stop attacking their constituents on social media and to stop lying about them. I came to ask the city to please do something about it. To the state, the city has not been able to. My comments here are to show that his recent behavior attacking the teachers is not unique. It is a pattern of behavior. Mr. Kelly has a long history of attacking people on social media. It all goes back to before his election. He had a political page on which he and others post about opposing candidates. Okay, it's politics, I get it. The problem is they also posted about the private citizens who supported the candidates. I and some of my friends were included in multiple posts and nasty videos shared to his page. This page has been shut down since, or made private, but his attacks of residents and private citizens has continued on his own page, which he calls his campaign page. One of the continuous attacks is about a group called Indivisible Cedar Park. I was a member of this group until I moved away last year. The people in that group are dear friends of mine, are good, kind people whose only actions in this group are block walking, phone banking, registering voters, and holding speaker meetings. That is all. On Mr. Kelly's page, however, and lately now, even in city council meetings, Mr. Kelly has been telling lies about the group and even posting photos of members with disparaging marks and accusations. He accuses them of doing things they have not done, of supporting things they do not support. He posted about my first coming to speak, essentially calling me Antifa. He has called us Antifa, witches, fascists, communists, and so much more. One time after people wrote in against him, he sent out cards with subliminal messages to some of whom have written in. He basically called this his personal page, but this page was
Ms.
his.
Thompson, you have one more minute. Thank you.
His campaign page was his campaign page, and he also has disseminated city information on it. Why does he do this? He does it to intimidate. They are meant to shut people up. They are meant to instill fear in the group's members to get people to stop supporting their candidates. These comments could also be dangerous to members with the more extreme he has gone. He's threatened on his page to continue even after he's out. My question is this: could these attacks with him being in the city council position be seen as retaliation of exercising our First Amendment rights? Does this fall under Section 1983, which allows suit against state actors who, under color of state law, deprive citizens of their federal constitution of statutory rights? I feel we may be stepping into this. Mr. Mayor, City Council, please do something to stop this ugliness. He's gone too far. What he has done is unconscionable. The attacks against our teachers. I moved because of his attack. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Katana Riley wishes, Cedar Park, Bernie Bishop wishes to address Tim Kelly in respect. She is a student who wishes to teach Tim Kelly the importance of respect.
Hi, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Hello, Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Katana Riley, and I was a student at CPMS, CPHS, and I am now going to school online at UTSA. Tim Kelly has used actions and language that has attacked people who aren't like him. I would like to speak on his language that I have found to be offensive towards teachers. I believe Tim Kelly has something to learn about respect. Let me talk about a few teachers he has disrespected that I believe no more respect than Tim Kelly. At Cedar Park High, we have hardworking teachers like Mr. Babbage, who taught me AP Bio, and also taught we should respect someone no matter how they identify, because all of our biology is the same. A few doors down is Miss Mathias, who taught me respect for science and knowledge, especially as a woman in STEM. Further down the hall is Doc McPherson, who taught everyone to respect the earth. Across the school is Miss Asha, who taught art and respect for all beings, from humans to unicorns. And lastly, Mirabella, a theater teacher who taught me how to respect myself and overcome when someone wants to take you down. Because of her and my other teachers, I choose to not allow Tim Kelly to slander teachers and take them down because he lacks empathy to hardworking members of our community. Because of Tim Kelly, I'm embarrassed to say I'm a citizen of Cedar Park because of the attention he has brought to us. Something is deeply wrong with Tim Kelly on how he chooses to treat people. I understand that Tim Kelly's narcissism will likely not result in him resigning on his own. So I, and hopefully fellow members of our community, will keep in mind a quote during the election by Willie Nelson. The quote is, "The biggest gun we got is called a ballot box, and if you don't like who's in there, vote him out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Riley. Next, we have Courtney Poole, Cedar Park, Summer Park Bend. Wants to thank us for calling this special meeting so residents can express their thoughts in regards to Councilman Kelly's comments.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council members for calling this special meeting to address the comments made by Councilman Kelly. As a resident of Cedar Park, I was appalled by Councilman Kelly's words, not only in the original post he made denigrating our beloved teachers, which I feel violated our city's core values of leadership, professionalism, and integrity, but also with regard to his follow-up post where his words continue to foment division and malice within our community and deflect and excuse his content in the original post. I would welcome Councilman Kelly and all our leaders, both local and national, in mind that you were elected to represent all the people, not just those who agree with your political ideology. With that being said, it is my belief that we are here in this life to learn two things: love and forgiveness. That is my radical agenda. So I would like to offer my gratitude to Councilman Kelly. I'm grateful to him, the mayor, and other council members for this public opportunity to show my love to the great teachers who have had such a positive impact on my life. In my past, I was privileged to learn from such wonderful teachers who, far from being leeches, would use their own funds and time to help advance the lives of their students. More recently, I would like my children's teachers and the staff and administrators at Westside Elementary to know how much my family loves and appreciates them every day. Even more so now, I learned in spring how it takes a special person with an open and generous heart to be a teacher. I have and will continue to make a positive influence in my children's lives and in turn my life. Frankly, I'm grateful to Councilman Kelly for the opportunity to practice forgiveness. And I would like to invite all of us to forgive any person or party that we think or feel have wronged us or caused us or those we love pain. It's only through forgiveness that we can begin to move forward and heal. Heal ourselves, our community, our state, and our country. Anger, fear, judgment, and hatred cannot and do not serve us. They do not serve the
Ms.
greater
Poole,
good.
you have 1 minute left. Thank you.
Thank you. They do not serve our better natures. They do not serve our faith, and they do not serve God. Lastly, I would like to end with the scripture from 1 Corinthians. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Veronica Miller, Cedar Park, Hunters Creek Cove, wishes to address Mr. Kelly's behavior, particularly the post about teachers and unions is unacceptable. Proud member of teaching staff at CPMS and a Cedar Park resident. Commends the council for holding Mr. Kelly accountable for his behavior. He knows, I know that it's a leader's responsibility to model behavior they wish to see in others. I asked Mr. Kelly to reflect on his behavior and ask himself what kind of leader he wants to be.
Yes, hello. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I commend the council for calling the special meeting. Although Mr. Kelly has tried to silence the public through procedural antics for around 40 minutes, I'm grateful to have the opportunity to speak. I'm a proud member of the teaching staff at a middle school in Leander ISD and a resident of Cedar Park. I speak tonight as a private citizen and not in my capacity as an LISD employee. However, I understand that any behavior I exhibit on social media or outside of school matters to my job as a public employee and could result in my ultimate dismissal. Mr. Kelly's recent behavior, specifically his comments to individuals on social media, is disturbing, disrespectful, unprofessional, and unacceptable, and in direct violation of the rules of procedure that the mayor discussed at the beginning of the meeting. There is no need to repeat what these behaviors are. We've been through it. It does not build bridges, as stated in the city's goals. I am a middle school teacher and a mother of a toddler. I am used to dealing with challenging behavior, and I understand that individuals need to feel the consequences of their inappropriate behavior. I encourage the council and voters to find a way to hold Mr. Kelly accountable for his actions. As a teacher, I know that it is a leader's duty and responsibility to model the behavior they wish to see in others. Mr. Kelly, I implore you to reflect on your behavior and ask yourself what kind of a leader you're going to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Danielle Carr, Cedar Park, Persimmon Road, wishes to speak about Tim Kelly should resign and apologize.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I could not unmute myself and I couldn't figure out how to make it work. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for your time. This is my first time speaking at a city council meeting, and I'm happy to be here. I accuse Mr. Tim Kelly of moral turpitude. He used social media to disparage teachers and incite anger against them. He later went on to say, including today, that somehow he made it clear that he was specifically targeting teachers and unions in California. But based on the article he posted and the words that he used to preface it, there's absolutely no language that indicates this. The words that he used were general, and they were taken so. I think that's evidenced by the number of people waiting to speak today. And blaming the people who are pointing out concerns with his behavior is not an apology. And by the way, social media is not private. It's called a platform. It's public. No one hacked his information. In fact, many individuals, including teachers, are held accountable for any actions or posts on social media. And there is no reason why Kelly should be excused and exempted. He is an elected official. He is representative of our city. When you stand for an organization, your behavior is a reflection on that which you represent. It's a basic concept that is taught to high school students. If you play on a team for your school, you represent the school. And if you behave in a way that does not honor the school, you're removed from the team. This is the same concept. People throughout our state and our city are angry and they're scared. They face loss of income. They're facing this terrifying pandemic and they're stressed emotionally. Their resources are beyond taxed. And directing all of this anger and fear at teachers is unconscionable. There are a lot of...
Sorry, you have 1 minute remaining. Thank you.
Yes, sir. There are systemic problems being brought to the forefront right now. And rather than contribute to the confusion and rage, it's the job of public elected officials to be leaders and try to solve these problems. Teachers deserve our respect, our compassion, our care, our consideration, our help, just like every other citizen and constituent. And elected public officials are in the public eye. They lead people not only in policy, but also as a model for behavior. And Tim Kelly attacked and blamed teachers, and that makes others feel justified in doing the same. We stand by our teachers. And lastly, I want to call attention to the fact that this meeting is being held virtually, and that's for a reason. It's to make our council members and our constituents as safe as possible. We made us safe, and teachers deserve that same consideration, and they should not be attacked for saying that they want some safety. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Christine Mann, Leander, Mercury Cove, wishes to address the egregious comments of Tim Kelly.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Dr. Christine Mann. I am a family practice doctor in Cedar Park and a citizen of Leander, and I appreciate your time tonight. This is a pattern, as some of the other speakers have noted, that Mr. Kelly has continued to disparage residents of the community, making this a very hostile situation for people who live here. The core values that are listed on the website, out of these 7, he has violated at least 4 of them: community, leadership, professionalism and integrity with his actions. And he has created a space where citizens are afraid to speak up and afraid to participate. I personally know many members of Cedar Park who have been so intimidated by Mr. Kelly and his supporters that they won't engage anymore. They've been attacked personally and they've been attacked regularly, and it goes on to this day. A few months ago, I came and spoke to the City Council about this very issue, and I asked to please create some sort of mechanism within the council to hold Mr. Kelly accountable. I understand that no mechanism exists currently, and I trust that you will work to find a solution for this. But I have to say to Mr. Kelly, your position at this point needs to be to step down. It should not be up to the citizens of this city and this community to have to force you out. Do the right thing, show leadership, show that you care about this community, show that you are professional and that you have integrity, and step down so that someone who exhibits those characteristics can take your place. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Andrea Ramirez, Cedar Park, Alms Park Drive, wishes to address Tim Kelly's actions.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I thought I lost you guys. All right, thank you. It has been decided that virtual learning has become our children's new school. The attention and trained skills that educators offer have now been handed over to the parents, enabling them for being able to return to work full time. With local stats of COVID-19 and with government and CDC announcements, why do schools choose not to adjust? I've turned to Cedar Park Council for upcoming meetings regarding these issues. Instead, meetings are being used to publicly scorn City Council Tim Kelly. In an attempt to understand, protests have been held with teachers in Austin, in which I also discovered that teachers here are unable to walk out or strike as they risk losing their certifications and retirement benefits. Politics are their only option. As elections are upon us, their goal is to redirect voters to candidates who will support their demands. COVID-19 and children are being used as shields and claiming concern. Yet a 5-page return to safety standards has been created with no hurry to return and standards to be met. CDC has noted the importance for students to return to school full time, providing information for our schools on how they can safely operate. A Nordic and a German study focus was studied and results were sent out on the spread of the virus among students to teachers, concluding that the closing of schools had no measurable effect on the number of cases among children. They are not a major risk group and do not play an important role in transmission. I encourage all of you to look at Williamson County COVID-19 cases and the ages affected and do the math. Now about this meeting, are you kidding me? Seriously. When reading the actions of Councilman Kelly, I am disappointed in our city officials.
Mr. Ramirez, you have 1 minute. You have 1 minute remaining. Thank you.
As they find his postings on Facebook credible enough to have a meeting of hurt feelings. Councilman Kelly clearly puts children and parents first. Let me remind you that there are essential personnel who range in income that have not stopped working. They face COVID-19 every day. Daycare services never close their doors. All face the fear of bringing home this virus, but they do go to work and they do their job. Educators, you are valued, but using Councilman Kelly to deflect your excuses is not only juvenile, but is less tolerated. Parents are in search for alternative options with less restrictions. To have the arrogance to assume you're replaceable, guess what? You are. Lack of students will force schools to release teachers. Unemployment benefits will max out. There are new graduates and experienced teachers moving into our city with a desire to teach and are fearless. Those who have come here tonight to contribute in defacing Councilman Kelly should be ashamed. Articles of online bantering and expressions used to describe him and his actions are actions of hate.
Please try to wrap it up. Thank you.
I will. The idea of singling out an individual because he has chosen to fight for our constitutional rights and then shame him for it is ludicrous. To single him out once again because he challenged the educational system devalues freedom of speech. This meeting is sad, and we should focus on real issues within our community. Thank you.
One clarification, Mr. Ramirez. Are you from San Antonio? Are you in San Antonio or Cedar Park?
Cedar Park.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Miss Christine Atchison wishes from Cedar Park, Lost Maples Loop, wishes to publicly state the mistreatment she's endured over the last year from Councilmember Tim Kelly.
Hi, my name is Christine Atchison, and I've been a resident of Cedar Park for over 10 years now. I have 2 children currently enrolled at Leander ISD schools, and I myself am a vetted and registered Leander ISD volunteer. Everything I say tonight is factually accurate and documented. 13 months ago, I came before the City Council for the very first time and criticized Mr. Kelly for attending an event in Leander. In retaliation, Mr. Kelly immediately began to harass and attack me online. He has been obsessed with me and has relentlessly pursued me for over a year now. He has posted dozens of social media posts and comments on his City Council campaign Facebook page and other social media platforms meant to harass me and incite others in the community to harass me. He has habitually posted a caricature he has labeled as me over and over again. He has called me every derogatory name in the book, including those Webster's defines as whore. He makes frequent, never-ending comments about my body, including comments about my genitalia. He has approached me in person and made intimidating comments about me, or to me. Tim Kelly's adult daughter, Melissa Kelly, also cyberstalks, puts up disparaging social media posts about me, makes comments about my body, bullies me, and encourages others to do the same, which they do. Mr. Kelly has posted a photo of himself with my children in the background of the photo and specifically referenced the neighbors in the background and captioned the photo with only "I spy." He told a third party that he watches my children. He has posted lies online regarding the custody status of my children. I have contacted the police several times to report Mr. Kelly's harassment. The harassment has been so bad that a few weeks ago, the police came to my home. The harassment case has been sent to the city attorney for review. That's the status right now. And all of these facts are documented. Council, Mr. Kelly is under your authority. You have an obligation to protect me and my children as tax-paying citizens and to hold him accountable. Hiring an attorney to pursue my case against Tim Kelly in a court has the potential of costing tens of thousands of dollars in legal expenses just to get him to stop harassing and
Ms. Atchison, you have 1 more minute. Thank you.
Thank you. My boys are lifetime Cedar Park citizens. I cannot afford that type of expense to hold Mr. Kelly accountable, and I should not have to. You have the power to hold Mr. Kelly accountable. I implore you to do so. You have an obligation to do so. Please hold him accountable. Thank you.
Yeah, I need to interject here. Absolutely none of that is true. And I look forward to a potential lawsuit, to be honest with you. This individual says that I have multiple social media accounts. That is an absolute untruth. I have Facebook and I have 1 account only. I have no additional emails that I log into on Facebook like she does. So I absolutely rebuke the total slander that the mayor has allowed in this process.
Thank you. Deborah Glovsky, Cedar Park. Todd Lane wishes to make a comment about a comment regarding teachers of an elected official are appalling. Deborah Glovsky.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi. I don't have any prepared speech like all of the folks before me, but I echo their sentiments. But I also want to thank Tim Kelly for inviting 70 people from Cedar Park to speak tonight. Broken a record for our city council, citizens of Cedar Park speaking out. And I think we'll get a lot more voters out. I'm got all my friends texting me right now, asking what we can do. And my biggest thing is vote, vote, vote. I'm almost embarrassed to say that I'm from Cedar Park because of the attention that all the negativity and divisiveness has caused upon our city. I don't see Councilman Kelly or one other councilman, I know we can't talk about anybody else tonight, at any of our Cedar Park events, but I seem to see the same 4 or 5 city council people at every one of our events that occurs in the city, whether it's a ribbon cutting for a new business or a luncheon or whatever it may be, coffee with a cop, whatever the event is. I see most of our council members at those events representing our city. I don't see 2 other members ever at any events. So I don't feel like they represent me. I don't feel like they speak for me. And frankly, I'm just appalled at the behavior that's allowed to continue. Thank you all for your time this evening.
Just wanted to make a point of fact here. So I'm sure she was referring to me as the other one, but before the lockdowns and pandemic, I actually went to many ribbon cuttings because I was very involved with the group and school plays and different things. I mean, I was definitely very involved. I just don't advertise all my volunteerism and things that I get involved in because that's my thing that I do. But I go to many. I couldn't even tell you how many I've been to because I've been to that many, including the coffee with the cops and all that stuff. So just wanted to make that fact.
Okay, John Pointer, Cedar Park, Dartford Bend, wishes to know that as a resident, he has no confidence in Councilmember Kelly. He has shown time and again his views that all members of the community are not all members are equal and deserve respect. My parents are educators, and I found his call to fire teachers in the midst of a global pandemic horrifying. People's lives are at stake, which makes these types of outbursts dangerous to the community and our health. Mr. Pointer.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, all right. My name is John Pointer. I'm a Cedar Park resident for more than 16 years now and a local business owner. I've had a couple of interactions with Tim Kelly directly. I've called him. Oh, I noticed he's not here, by the way. Can I talk to him or can I wait until he's back and can hear me?
I'm sorry, what are you asking?
Tim Kelly has left the meeting. At least
he's allowed to leave the meeting if he wants to.
Okay, got it.
Right.
I just wanted him to hear my words, but
this is all being recorded, so it'll be on the internet forever.
Oh no, I wanted to talk to him directly, but that's fine. So I wanted to point out, by the way, that Tim Kelly does not reply to email. I've emailed him numerous times. He accused you, Mayor, of not replying to email before, and have not seen that is his behavior. Tim Kelly is showing support for bigotry when he showed up for the anti-LGBTQ plus reading at the library, and he is calling for the firing of teachers on his Facebook account. I've personally contacted the council member twice, once when I read the article pointing out that Tim Kelly was at an anti-LGBTQ plus demonstration at a library in town. I asked point blank, "Are you a bigot?" His answer was, and I'm paraphrasing, "No, my wife is Mexican." So I'm not sure if he didn't understand what bigotry is compared to racism, or if he was just embarrassed to stand up to his words, or by being confronted by what he may have assumed was going to be a friendly phone call or constituency, but was not. Likely because, Tim's shared values are probably echoed by his circle of friends and on Facebook. So he lives in a chamber where he can say where he wants.
Ms. Pointer, you have 1 minute remaining. Thank you.
Thank you. I contacted Tim Kelly a second time to request that he not threaten teachers. My mom is a teacher, and if she doesn't feel if it's safe to work during the pandemic or wants to speak out on working during the pandemic, that is her right, and she should not be fired. My mom is an excellent teacher. I'm requesting the council take action against Tim Kelly by removing him from the council if possible. I think those are all my words. Any questions from Mr. Kelly or anybody?
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Neetha Ingert, Cedar Park, Liberty Oaks Boulevard, wishes to speak about Tim Kelly being a disgrace to our city.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi there. So yes, as I said, I think Tim Kelly is an embarrassment to our great city, and he has been for over a year. I have attended several city council meetings and spoke about his words. I hate that he has spoken this way about teachers, but I'm glad that many people are showing up, finally realizing what a horrible council member he is, and I'm asking the council to please take action and remove him. He has called many citizens terrorists, Antifa, witches, and now our great teachers are leeches. So I'm very glad that finally there's something that's going to help our citizens wake up and see what kind of a guy he really is. He blocks people that he doesn't like. He deletes comments that he doesn't like. He attends rallies that, just pop up. They just pop up. Well, when you follow InfoWars and the such, things like that do pop up on your page. You're right, they do pop up. And he broke laws by attending those without a mask. He's just not a good example for our citizens. And I would like to share a Facebook post. I did send it to the council because I wanted them to see for themselves that it is a real Facebook post from Tim Kelly. We have someone named Todd Dold. I don't know Todd, but he said, "How old are you, sir? Your posts sound like the most uneducated of mean girls. You are supposed to represent all of your constituents." Capital letters, Tim Kelly says, "No, I represent the people who voted for me. Learn what a republic is and who an elected official represents." Number one, you don't know who voted for you. Number two, very few people vote in Cedar Park. So you must represent everyone. Whether I voted for you or not, you need to have the heart of, I will do what is the best for our citizens of Cedar Park. If that's not your attitude, get off of council. He needs to be removed. We need
Ms. Ingrid, you have 1 minute left. Thank you.
Thank you. We need someone on our council. We need everyone on our council to be a person who wants the best for our city. Because of him, I wholeheartedly believe that we have lost business. Thank you. That's all I have.
Good. Thank you.
Just a statement of fact, I know she'd mentioned that Councilman Kelly broke the law, or I did, and we did not. I know Councilman Kirkland also disparaged us and said that we broke the law on the dais, but that was not a law, and it was just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you. Terry Hutton, Leander, Gabriel Mills Drive, wishes to express disgust with Tim Kelly. Terry Hutton. Are you there? Okay. What about Amy Monkman with an M? Wait, she doesn't want to speak. Y'all be patient. We're trying to figure out this IT thing here.
We cannot hear you, Mr. Mayor.
Right, because we're trying to figure out who to get somebody that's actually on the deal. Here we go. Mike Sanders wishes to address childish political games.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, very good. So yeah, I just feel really sorry for Tim tonight. It's just, this is such a circus. You folks probably don't realize what you look like. You're hearing
Hang on,
You still hear me?
I'm sorry. Ms. Sanders from Leander and lives on West South Street. Thank you.
Yeah. So you folks on the city council may not realize what everybody thinks of this circus that's going on right now. You're hearing from a bunch of leftists, a bunch of Democrat extreme leftists, and so you're like thinking this is the way everybody thinks, but it's not. Tonight I want to point out that our democracy in America is under attack. Our democracy under attack from left-wing extremists. We have people on the Cedar Park City Council who are supported by this type of extremists. People who want to defund the police, people who want to burn down businesses, set fire to police cars, people who want to tear down monuments and paint graffiti on the faces of our public buildings and our businesses. We've seen this type of behavior in Houston, in Austin, and other cities. This type of behavior is supported and encouraged by far left extremists who hate America and everything we stand for. Tim Kelly is a conservative voice speaking against the chorus of hateful voices that seek to destroy our way of life. The groups that have traditionally been behind the far left ideas that are threatening America include labor unions for one, abortionists for another, those who would say, hell yeah, we're coming for your AR-15. This type of people have been drawn to Cedar Park by a small group of troublemakers who have been praised by a couple of members on the city council, namely Ann Duffy and Mel Kirkland. Some of the hateful individuals who these council members are praising have worked hard to destroy the lives of the citizens living in Cedar Park. On social media, they've attacked conservative members of the city council. They've spread a net far and wide to entice people from other cities to come to Cedar Park and cause
Mr. Sanders, I'm sorry, you have 1 more minute remaining. Thank you.
They try to drive Cedar Park businesses into the ground. If the owners of those businesses represent conservative values, these hateful indivisibles have caused people to lose their jobs by going to their employers and falsely accusing them. These hateful individuals have caused children to be taken from their parents by filing fraudulent reports with CPS. The attacks against the conservative members of the city council began soon after the John Busey family organized an event at the Leander Public Library with the purpose of teaching small children to embrace homosexuality. 2 or 3 members of the Cedar Park City Council went to that event and observed what was happening. I was there and I took hundreds of pictures that day. The leftists who organized and supported that event are supported by the person who wrote the agenda item attacking one of the conservative members of City Council. The left-wing extremist who wrote this agenda item is up for re-election, and this childish stunt is nothing more than a political assault on a conservative member of City Council. Tonight, Cedar Park is observing who are the leftist members of the City Council.
Mr. Sanders, please try to wrap it up. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, could I have a point of order, please? I'd like to point a fact that I'm married to a police officer, don't want to defund the police. Don't really know what Mr. Sanders, who I do not know, is talking about, but I represent all the citizens, and I don't really appreciate someone coming in from another city talking about me and using my name when I don't know him, he doesn't know me. Thank you.
I'd like to say something too. I do know Mr. Sanders, and we've had several conversations in the past. I've been told that there's a rumor going around that I am telling people that we should defund the police. That is 100% absolutely false. I have been a member of the 100 Club for years. I completely support our law enforcement and our emergency services, police, fire, and emergency services. And I reject anybody making a statement like that about our city employees. Thank you.
Thank you.
In fact, also, this just to mention, I know somebody prior mentioned that Indivisible's only, trying to get people, signed up to vote and all that. All you got to do is look on their website and see how they do support defunding the police, and they walk hand in hand with Black Lives Matter and Antifa, and that's all great. But, when you have 3 council members sitting on council right now that they can't even denounce that group because it's a big chunk of their supporters, so that might not be good for them. But the fact is that, they don't support the police. I'm not saying these 3 council members don't support the police, but I'm just saying they are very closely tied in with groups, violent groups like Black Lives Matter and Indivisible, which are totally and completely against the police. They want to defund them. They attack them all the time. They're doing all types of stuff, social media attack, and BLM does the violent side of it, and they're all, hand in hand, and that's all. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, as an African American, I support all lives matter. So I am completely offended that you keep throwing that out to people. Black Lives Matter. I understand it's a national message, but there are people of African American descent in this city that don't like that being thrown at them every time it comes up.
Okay.
I'm not throwing it out. I'm just stating fact. I said I was making a statement of fact, and that is a statement of fact. If you don't like it, that's your problem.
Well, we've still got a whole lot of residents that want to talk, so if you want, we can kind of hear them instead of hearing each other.
Yeah, just a statement of fact
Jesse
real quick, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to, just real quick, I want to thank everybody who has called in and who's expressed their feelings in this entire situation. I also would state that I too do condemn the indivisible Antifa movement that's going on, and yes, Mel, you very well know that that I know that you are partial African American. And as a matter of fact, I worked extremely hard to get you elected, and I'll work extremely hard to get you unelected.
Okay. Jesse Mahan, Georgetown, Miller Hill, wishes to address the core values and perspective concerning Tim Kelly's comments.
Hey, guys. Ann Duffy, Mel Kirkland, I 100% know you will support the police at all costs. I've come in front of this council and previous councils a number of times in defense of wrongly convicted, wrongly incarcerated, and recently exonerated former City Park resident Greg Kelly. Each time, the majority of City Council ignored my request and made the politically expedient decision to continue to support former Police Chief Sean Mannix and former lead detective Chris Daly. The Cedar Park Police Department's mishandling, the city manager's inaction, the city attorney's poor advice, and the city council's neglect has undeniably led to additional rape victims in our community and others. You're talking about comments and how bad they hurt. I'm talking about rape victims. Only after a national spotlight was put on the incompetence of Detective Daly did the Cedar Park City Council take any action. Ponder that for a moment. Only after it was a political liability did Mayor Van Arsdale take any action. The council allowed Sean Mannix an honorable retirement he did not deserve. I find it wildly outrageous that the same city council that refused to condemn an inept police chief and lead detective is now attempting to target the lone city council member that has been critical of the way the council handled the information that Greg Kelly supporters brought to the council years ago. It makes citizens wonder, is this really about a comment concerning teachers' unions in another state, or is this just a political move to remove a voice of opposition? Actions speak louder than words. The warp speed that Mayor Van Arsdale jumped into this debacle speaks volumes. When I spoke up on the mayor's political motivated Facebook post condemning Councilman Kelly, I was called untruthful by Miss Van Arsdale.
Mr. Mahan, you have 1 minute remaining. Thank you.
Mayor, lick your lips as much as you want. You have bitten off more than you can chew, and you're once again a liability to the tax revenue of Cedar Park. When you speak up, you're either censored or called a liar. If this city council had more Tim Kellys, people not scared to speak up, no matter the political cost, chances are the city of Cedar Park would not be facing a multi-million-dollar lawsuit by Greg Kelly. Mr. Tim Kelly, you too are a victim of Cedar Park's poor leadership. I hope you're able to hold them accountable.
Okay, Anastasia Eckhart, Cedar Park from Barzona Bend, wishes to address Tim Kelly disrespecting teachers. As an educator and resident of Cedar Park, she's heartbroken by the disparaging remarks by Tim Kelly about educators. We are more than just a step above leeches. We do what we do because we love what we do. We love our community. We love our students. We don't do this for the money. We provide a safe space for our students to learn and thrive. We go out of our way to provide engaging lessons so our students can become lifelong learners. Ms. Eckhart.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your time. And I am extremely nervous, but I appreciate all of the amazing citizens of Cedar Park calling and standing up to Mr. Kelly. As our mayor said, I am an educator and a resident of Cedar Park. I also have 6 children who have attended schools here in Leander ISD. As a teacher, I think that Tim Kelly's public statement calling us leeches is absolutely disgusting. We go out of our way to provide engaging lessons so that our students can become lifelong learners. Teachers don't just clock in and out. We continue to support our students and our community. If we are on campus or if we're not, we are constantly there for our students and our community. We take phone calls from parents, we attend meetings before we even go in the classroom, we buy food and supplies with our own money, and we provide community support. Tim Kelly does not represent me. He does not represent my family or, well, I won't say anymore. Tim Kelly does not reflect the values that our city holds dear. Stop deflecting, stop blaming the article being out of context. Take responsibility for your actions. Take responsibility for the words that you print, type, say, regardless of how you want to display them. Take responsibility and resign, please.
Okay, thank you. Melissa Kelly wishes to speak, Cedar Park, Warwick Way, wishes to speak on Tim's conduct.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I want to thank the mayor for allowing me to speak today. I consider it enormously generous, as tyrants do not typically allow dissenting opinions to be spoken. And before the mayor or council tries to stop me in this characterization, I would like to note that you have not denounced those accusing Councilmember Kelly, who has virtually no power on this council, of being a tyrant. So please sit quietly and listen. I will tie everything I speak of into how it relates to Tim Kelly at the end, so don't interrupt me. Council has been called today in order to discuss the opinions of Tim Kelly. The mayor has chosen to waste city time and money to discuss and take action against a citizen, because he is a citizen, exercising their free right to speech and peaceful protest. This is a direct violation of the First Amendment. Does the mayor treat all citizens equally? No, he and Mel only seek action against conservatives who utilize their right to free speech. He does not seek action against council members who call other members a-holes during open meetings. He does not seek action against indivisible members who say conservative citizens are terrorists. He does not try to silence left-leaning citizens by preventing them from presenting digital images to council. The mayor has refused to denounce our local Nation of Islam supporter and indivisible activist. You heard her speak. It was Christine Atchison, who has a habit of falsely accusing people of sexual assault, by the way. He refuses to denounce terroristic threats made by her to council and the city. He refuses to denounce what happened to Greg Kelly, even though that man has been exonerated, and instead makes veiled threats to Kelly about information he plans to spill later on that will be interesting. He allows his current wife, who he cheated on his first wife with, to harass GK fighters who see him for the corrupt mayor he is. The mayor has refused to address protests in the city in which BLM activists routinely disobeyed COVID-19 stay-at-home orders. Instead, he would like to berate Tim Kelly because he attended a protest in the Capitol about the violation of the First
Ms. Kelly, you have 1 minute remaining. Thank you.
Great. The mayor did not denounce those wishing death on Tim Kelly and his family. Instead, he condemned council members and the citizens who went to the protest with them. The mayor has a long history of supporting liberal views, which is fine. I don't care. What isn't fine is him and Mel routinely paying money to advertise divisive opinions to community members on social media. I have long felt intimidated and threatened by the mayor, Mel Kirkland, and Duffy. I feared coming before council and voicing my opinions because this group and their supporters are known for harassing, cyber stalking, and doxing conservative council members and citizens at Cedar Park, to the point that I had to block Christine Atchison's many Facebook accounts because she won't stop stalking me, and the mayor says nothing. Their conduct is so bad that Councilmember Kelly has asked his supporters to not call into this meeting for fear of retaliation by him. Now, how does all of this relate to Mr. Kelly's conduct? Well, when he's surrounded by hypocrites such as these, he goes out of his way to point out the hypocrisy he sees, especially given that these people are up for re-election. Unfortunately, the hypocrites have the majority on this council and would rather use their position to silence him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for me?
Do we have any questions? Thank you. Stephen Thomas, Cedar Park, Bernie Bishop wants to speak.
I speak.
Correction, Stephen Thomas has signed up to just submit his comment. So that's everyone that signed up to speak. There now are a whole lot of people that want their comments read and have signed up to have their comments read. And our city secretary will be stating the name, city, street, and reading the comments.
Are you ready, Isaac?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So I'm going to read the registered comments as they were submitted by citizens. And I apologize for any mispronunciation of any citizens' last names. So the first one is Debbie Trapiano with Brianna Court in Cedar Park. The comments by Tim Kelly on social media are horrible, especially in this difficult time. Educators are already stressed and the target of so much rage from this community. As a city leader, Mr. Kelly should be building up our educators, not tearing them down. We can't support the citizens of Cedar Park who should resign. Teresa Patterson, Corbin Way, Cedar Park. Tim Kelly is not fit enough to be on the city council. His behavior in council meetings on social media and in public go against the bylaws of our city council. As a 25-year veteran teacher of the greatest district in the area, LISD, I am deeply offended by his remarks first made and then by the edited remarks on his post. Not only did he make derogatory remarks about teachers in his post, but then he continued to heckle teachers who posted on his thread or people who private messaged him. Christine Maurer for Dog Lane, Cedar Park. I am appalled that a sitting city councilman would degrade our teachers by calling them names on his social media. My heart hurts for those educators who give so much to our community. Tim Kelly does not speak for me. His comments are rude and unbecoming of a councilman. Krista Washburn, Shannon Meadow Trail, Cedar Park. I've watched at Kelly's repeatedly added decisive, inflammatory, partisan comments and engaged outsiders to also come into Cedar Park to threaten and intimidate our residents. Please, please remove him. He is damaging our city and furthering his own agenda instead of that of strengthening Cedar Park. Mr. Correct the car. Kelly's comments, Riley Trail, Cedar Park. Kelly's comment calling our local teachers leeches is appalling and disgusting. As an elected city council member, his behavior reflects poorly on the entire city. We are all familiar with his boorish behavior, but imagine a potential business looking to come to our city. Do you think his notoriety will encourage them to choose Cedar Park? No. Christopher Bowman, Valerie Court, Cedar Park. We need to make decency cool again. Deanna Perkins, Park West Drive, Cedar Park. Tim Kelly is disrespectful, derogatory, and demeaning to a majority of the residents of Cedar Park, including many of you. We as teachers teach our students to accept and love all humans, no matter their race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity, etc. We teach them that it is okay to disagree, but to do it respectfully without name calling. We teach them about freedom of speech. But there could be consequences for what you say. Tim Kelly has got to go. Bill Maurer, Bird Dog Lane, Cedar Park. Tim Kelly should have actions up to and including removal from office if regulations allow such removal. Attacking citizens is not acceptable behavior at city council. David Heck, Yale Street, Houston. Tim Kelly needs to find another job. He is not serving his public and he's an embarrassment to Cedar Park. Jason Willer, Ebbs Fleet Drive, Cedar Park. Understand his position on the comments he made about educators in the LISD district. Helen Erickson, Trail Ridge Drive, Cedar Park. City council members pledge to support the values and advance the goals of Cedar Park. Tim Kelly has violated each of these. Mel Kirkland's allegation that Kelly violated the city's core values, city council goals, city ordinances, city council rules of procedure, and the city charter. In these times of environmental and social crises, we need people who are good problem solvers who understand the needs of the community for which they speak. He needs to be replaced. Ruben Rodriguez, Crockett Road, Cedar Park. As a taxpayer in Cedar Park, I am disgusted that Kelly represents me in the city of Cedar Park. As a teacher, Kelly has once again disrespected me and my profession. Such remarks must be addressed by the council and the residents of our city. When others speak of Cedar Park, let Kelly not be the first topic they speak of. Kelly does not represent me or Cedar Park. Amy Monkman, Willowbrook Drive in Cedar Park. I am offended by his remarks of teachers being leeches and should be fired if they don't want to go back into the classroom. I'm a teacher going into my 26th year. Did she speak? I get paid to work 187 days, no overtime. I work after school hours on the weekends and during the summer. Especially this summer, I am working without pay. How dare he say I am a leech? I will protect kids from many things, but when I want to protect myself, I should be fired. He needs to go. Mary Howe, Bird Dog Lane, Cedar Park. Mr. Kelly has repeatedly shown that he lacks the moral integrity to continue as a member of the Cedar Park City Council. His latest assault on teachers was a bridge too far. We, the citizens of Cedar Park, deserve better. Erica Van Nett, South Lakeland Boulevard, Cedar Park. Mr. Kelly is the only member to have ever responded to my emails. I have always found him to be open, honest, and to the point, which I appreciate tremendously. In any correspondence or social media posts that I have read, he is always informed and passionate, and it's abundantly clear that he has the best interests of our community in mind. In a culture that rewards weakness, a strong voice will always cause controversy. We need Nicole Miller, Plymouth, Austin. I live outside Cedar Park, but have been harassed by Tim Kelly on his public Facebook page. Brittany Rodriguez, Crockett Road, Cedar Park. As the daughter of educators called to pursue a profession in politics to effect as much legislative action as possible to support the cause of educators statewide, I can't express my embarrassment and outrage at Councilmember Kelly's vile and thoughtless comments regarding our community's most valued members. Enough. Teachers are the professionals with whom we entrust the well-being, safety, and education of our most valuable assets, our children. Kelly's voice isn't representative of Cedar Park, Austin. Mr. Thomas registered a comment in Bernie Bishop, Cedar Park. Comments provided in writing for the record. I have no such comments or have not received them. Lee Nye, Ascot Lane, Cedar Park. I have watched Tim Kelly threaten and intimidate the citizens of this community long enough. It's embarrassing that he's a citizen of Cedar Park, much less a council member. Last July, I wrote to the council with concerns over his and 2 other council members. I and about half a dozen others received notes from him mailed to our homes. It was received by me as an intimidation tactic. I know where you live. A classic passive-aggressive man. And I believe I read a comment from Karat Kapoor, Riley Trail, Cedar Park. Kapoor, T-H-A-K-U-R. No, okay, I'll read it again. I apologize, Mayor. Tim Kelly has once again brought shame to our city. We have been in the news but again and not to be good. How broken someone call our local teachers leashes. It is beyond appalling. Teachers in general are overworked and underappreciated, and now they are called vile names for our council member. Please bring some peace back to the constituents by censoring him, or better still, please vote to remove him from the council if that is an option. Holly Todd, Cardigan Street, Cedar Park. Tim Kelly's public comments on social media are abhorrent and do not reflect the city's core values.
I'd like to interject a point of fact, please. Yeah, so just as a point of fact, anyone who has mailed anything to me through the post office gets a thank you card back. And that is it. There's nothing else.
To continue, Christine Mann, Mercury Cove, Leander.
Christine Mann's already addressed the council.
Did she? Okay. I apologize, Mayor. It's screen refreshes.
Yeah, I know it's crazy with this many people on the screen. It's hard.
Yeah, check marks. Linda Elmas, Ranch Road 620. Mr. Kelly is out of line with the current COVID situation. In addition, he likes to berate people he does not agree with. He has no regard for the sick when he fails to wear a mask. He is sophomanic, I believe I pronounced that right, in his beliefs, and has a bad habit of verbally attacking women and has no regard for women. He has twice come into my face and talked down to me in an abusive fashion, and he should resign or be forced out of his position. I did not move into Cedar Park because he got elected. Nikki Erickson, Linden Loop, Cedar Park. This does not represent Cedar Park or who we are as a people. He needs to be reprimanded and asked to resign immediately. Harley Hottinger, Altamont Drive in Cedar Park, wants to speak about Tim Kelly's violations of city values. Debbie Keller, Cashew Lane, Cedar Park. Tim Kelly is a disgrace. He needs to be recalled or quit immediately. Robert Smith, Cashew Lane, supports Tim Kelly. Shirley Derryberry, Live Oak, Cedar Park. Robert's rules, no need of address or phone. Don Heidinger, Altamonte Drive, Cedar Park. Tim Kelly should not be given a position to represent Cedar Park with his distorted views of teachers and other public servants. I believe he needs to resign, or I will sign any document to have him removed. Jeremy Merrill, Argento Place, Cedar Park. There is enough dysfunction and polarization in government at the state and national level. We do not need to bring that element to our city government. The comments and behavior of Tim Kelly are unacceptable, and the consequences should reflect that. We need leaders that can work together in a measured and thoughtful way to get through these challenging times, not juvenile theatrics and name calling. Catherine McCormick, Rambling Trail, Cedar Park. Mr. Kelly's behavior online and in public has shown his disdain for the citizens of Cedar Park. He puts the citizens of our city at risk by refusing to wear a mask along with other councilors. He readily attacks and demeans fellow council members and invites people that do not even reside in our city to make a mockery of real issues, like keeping our citizens safe during a pandemic. The last straw is to berate the teachers of LISD. It is a shame that this behavior has been allowed to go on for so long. Ms. Hutton, who I believe we couldn't get a hold of, Gabriel Mills Drive in Leander. Her comment was just express disgust. I believe I'm at the end. Christina Cavalier, Mossy Grove Court, Cedar Park. Mr. Kelly has spent his time on the council serving his own interests and promoting his extreme positions. He seems uninterested in doing anything positive for the city, but prefers to disparage and insult many of his constituents. He likes to condemn those who have different political views, such as witches and Antifa. especially those who are members of the indivisible Cedar Park, a group dedicated to topical education, voter registration, and promoting voting. His behavior is bad for Cedar Park and Zion. And I believe I have reached the end of my list.
Okay, is that it?
Let me refresh. Hold on. Mayor, I have a Nicole Miller.
I'm pretty sure you read that one.
Yes, okay. Hold on. I just had more pop up when I refreshed my screen. Melanie Rice.
I don't remember that one.
Do not or do?
I do not.
Okay, Melanie Rice, Hayden Drive, Cedar Park. She's entering, I am entering my second year as a teacher in Leander ISD. As a teacher, I understand that I am held to a higher standard as in P. I've seen the comments, emails, and posts directed at my colleagues and myself. He can point of inquiry and point of fact to after every speaker, but he is not speaking truth. I call for the resignation of Tim Kelly on the grounds of violation of city values. Let me hit refresh one more time there. I believe that completes my list.
Okay, is there a Nina Starrett?
Oh, yes, sir. I just saw that one. Okay. Nina Starrett, Peyton Place, Cedar Park. I've been embarrassed by the actions of Tim Kelly and urged the council to take what actions within their power to publicly apologize and condemn his speech. I support and urge his removal from office.
Is that all?
Yes, sir, I believe. Let me hit refresh one more time. I apologize. Yes, sir, I believe that's it. Okay,
There's another one. Ahmad DeHarker? Ahmad DeHarker? DeHarker? It's in yellow on the screen.
Thank you. Ahmad DeHarker, Jeff's Lane, Austin. As a former resident of Cedar Park and youth government activist, I am appalled by the comments made about our educators. Councilman Kelly sets a disgusting example for what a city council member is. The lack of moral authority and general decency is clear. Keep in mind there will be countless new young voters in Cedar Park this November. The ballot will reflect that.
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Well, you know, in the 6 years I've been on the council, the most people I remember signing up for an item was probably around 20. We've had 4 times that amount tonight, and I can tell from also we've gotten a lot of emails. We've probably gotten more emails on this topic since I've been on council than anything other than the mask situation. I can tell there's a lot of people hurting among our residents. I'm sorry about that. I know there's a lot of kids and students that look up to us as elected officials. I do think we are held to a different standard than before we were elected officials. Yes, we have the same constitutional rights, of course, but we have a whole new set of responsibilities. And, you know, there's a lot of things that have happened. I was disappointed to watch elected officials tonight try to shut down and silence our residents through parliamentary maneuvers. Especially people that are waving around the First Amendment and right to speak all the time. Then they're shutting down their own residents at a council meeting. Really? I know that Mr. Kelly at our January retreat called one of our council members in the meeting a stupid idiot. We had to break the meeting. I know that he's called another council member a gnome and then imp.
Say something really quick.
You got to try to silence this some more? Why don't you let the residents hear what's going on?
No, I was going to say I wasn't trying to silence
council members. Losers, lunatics, frauds, useless.
Sorry, can you guys even hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I was just stating that or at least I wasn't, I'm sure Councilman Kelly, we were not trying to stop citizens from talking. We were just trying to follow the rules as they were written on here. But then I guess, once we called that we're going to follow Robert's rules, I guess that didn't apply anymore. But the rules
allow the people to talk. They allow the rules.
And not just Councilman Kelly.
Mr. Chavez, the rules, including Robert's rules, allow the citizens to address their elected officials on our core values and our strategic goals and discuss those. The rules do allow that. The council voted on it. I think the recording of this meeting will speak for itself.
I'm trying to think it will. You're right.
So what I will tell you is,
well, Mr. Mayor,
called one of our council members a stupid idiot at a council
meeting. Point of inquiry, Mr. Mayor.
And I'm gonna speak now. Then you can speak, Mr. Kelly.
Okay. So where have we? So after you're done speaking, is this an opening comment or is it a closing comment?
Well, it's almost 10 o'clock, so it's not an opening comment.
Are we going to go?
I'll tell you that the item is discussed about.
Well, it's a point of order. It's a point of order, first of all, and that
you called one of our council members at the January retreat a stupid idiot.
Mr. Mayor, it's a point of order here, and that is you have failed to recognize the previous points of order, and that's why I'm hey, pretty much.
You called another council member a known.
Mr. Mayor,
thank you.
Are we talking about name calling now? Like Councilman Duffy?
You called another councilor losers, lunatics, useless frauds.
What are you talking about?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. Point of inquiry.
First at our city attorney.
Where is this?
We're talking about your behavior, Mr. Kelly.
No, I'm asking.
A lot of our public
you just said that I called somebody
to be discussing, Mayor.
Yeah, we're discussing Mr. Kelly's behavior.
Stuff? Okay. Yeah, you're talking about confidential.
So I'm going to discuss Mr. Kelly's behavior for a while, and then you guys can discuss Mr. Kelly's behavior after that.
Oh, okay.
He cursed at our city attorney, and then he lied in a meeting 2 meetings ago when he said that our city attorney's been doing a bad job for 16 to 17 months when he gave him a positive review and a raise 8 months ago. We serve on boards with Campo, that is over our road projects, the BCRUA, which is over our water projects, and the CAPCOG, which is over a whole bunch of things. Round Rock, Leander, and Austin elected officials sit on those boards and vote on our projects. And this has caused a lot of problems with us trying to get some of our strategic goals done on roads through Campo, water projects through Leander and Round Rock. One of Round Rock's elected officials called me and said that Mr. Kelly filed an open records request on the city of Round Rock on something to do with Cedar Park, when all he had to do was pick up the phone.
Is that illegal?
He's constantly name calling other elected officials that sit on these boards, lunatics, leprechauns, losers, and these guys vote on our projects. How is that helping Cedar Park?
Are we talking about State Rep John Busey? Because I know I mentioned him.
We're talking about Mr. Kelly, him.
So just a point of fact here, Mr. Mayor.
Why would you call a Cedar Park mom
point
a
of
prostitute?
Fact,
Why would you call a Cedar Park mom a prostitute?
A point of
Why
fact.
Would you do that?
Point of
Why
fact.
would you call a Cedar Park mom a cancer, a terrorist, a loser, a lunatic, a scumbag, a little lady, an unintelligent racist bigot, a leech? Talk about her nose job. Talk about her tiny package. Talk about her tiny jewels. Talk about her little friend. Talk about her expensive body work. Mock her child custody. Why would you do that to Cedar Park moms?
We could ask the same question, Mayor. Why would you put out a false letter slandering candidates that are running for office?
Would you like me to read that letter? Would you like me to read that letter, Mr. Chavez?
Sure, I have it right here. I could read it to you.
I'll read it to you. Here's what it says.
Letterhead. And I'll say one of these.
The part about Mr. Kelly. What's it say? Read the part about Mr. Kelly.
Oh, shit, if I could see this thing. Hold on.
It's right there. Here, I'll help you. He's one of the most deceptive, divisive, and disrespectful to women residents in our city. That's what I said to Cedar Park in April of 2019. And where do you think we are now?
Yep.
Where do you think we are now? Which part of that's not true?
All of it. I mean, what about the part about him running gambling rings in the city? Did you report him to the police maybe to take care of it?
A lot of people have reported things. I think a lot of people have reported to the police about a number of things.
You lie to your constituents, and you know it, and people know it, Mr.
Does
Mayor.
anybody else wish to speak on Mr. Kelly's behavior?
We should be talking.
I, for one, have been personally threatened on the dais that somehow I ordered all of this behavior and this treatment, and I somehow ordered up the right or the duty to have InfoWars and people that follow them harassing me at my home. Somehow I've earned the right via Mr. Kelly that his daughter can harass my husband and his employment. So I don't know what I'm going to warrant that.
Point of fact.
I don't go around doing anything to you guys.
Point of fact, Councilman Duffy, you should probably talk to the council members that sits next to you, because he's the one that tried to put out the story about your husband using his police power to do illegal searches and background checks on people. He's the one that wanted to put that out on you.
Hey, Mr. Chavez,
That's Councilman Kelly. That's Councilman
This is about
Kirkland.
Mr. Kelly. This is about Mr. Kelly.
And point of inquiry or point of fact, actually, Council Member Duffy. So you just said something about my daughter. I don't know if it's true or not, but so if it's not true, I would exercise caution. For one, there is a lawsuit pending against an individual. I would not want you or the city from your official position on the dais to denigrate someone who happens to be my daughter, but is a resident and went through all of LA.
There was nothing.
Hold on 1 second, please. It said that she's been harassing your husband by calling the police or something. So I'll leave it up to you if you want to maybe correct that, but that's completely up to you. My daughter's.
There's nothing to correct. I saw it with my own two eyes. It was seen on a page, calling him out, listing where he works, his rank, that has nothing to do with the city, has nothing to do with the page that she was on. And I just don't understand why, if your daughter can go out and put things out there as your proxy, family should be off limits. But yet,
so I'm thinking,
why are you bringing up?
So maybe there's
because
maybe there's
this is what she's doing as his proxy.
Get it straight.
I'm thinking.
Does anybody else? Does Mr. Guevara or Mr. Robinson, either one of you wish to speak? Can you hear? Hello? Rodney, are you, Mr. Guevara, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you wish to speak at all?
I haven't said much this meeting. I've listened a lot this meeting, and so I do have a few comments to say. Again, I'm not here to point fingers by any means. I just want to really just tell people how I feel and kind of just speak from the heart a little bit. And so, first of all, I just want to start off by saying that, I do fully support our teachers. I mean, teachers are the backbone of our society. They contribute to the shaping and development of our children, and they are arguably one of the most important members of our society. Our teachers give our children purpose, and they inspire them to succeed. Teachers are often underappreciated and overworked. They are true servant leaders. And to the teachers out there, thank you for your service. I have full faith in the school board to make the right decision in determining when our students will go back to school. Now, regarding Councilman Kelly's comments, recent comments about school teachers, I do not condone these comments at all about school teachers or any other negative comments you said about anyone else. However, the dilemma that I'm faced with is that I'm very reluctant to censor him, only because, if it's just based upon his comments, I still recognize the right of free speech. Not to say that it's right, and there's been plenty of great arguments about, upholding yourself to a higher standard and all of that. I truly believe in that and respect that. But there's a part of me that I go back to the Constitution, our First Amendment, that protects one's speech from government censorship. It applies to federal, state, and local government actors. This broad category not only includes lawmakers and elected officials, but it also applies to public schools and universities, courts, and police officers. Now, I say that. Now, if it can be proven that Councilman Kelly has committed a crime involving his speech, whether it's perjury, extortion, harassment, threatening comments, or is in direct violation of our city's charter, then yes, I would agree to pursue some type of censorship if he's in violation. But if he's not in violation, I can't stand back and say, hey, I want to censor him for doing something that he has a constitutional right to do. So that's where I'm torn in regards to the legal stand, Pag. If the city attorney can come out and say that Councilman Kelly was in direct violation of the law or city charter, then I would consider that. But as of right now, the city attorney has not persuaded me otherwise or to think otherwise. And so with that being said, if he hasn't committed a crime or he's not in violation, I think we need to reconsider taking actions against Councilman Kelly and let the citizens decide. Let them decide his political future in the 2021 city election. Also, I do believe we should consider revising our city's charter, defining unprofessional behavior and establishing penalties for elected officials that are in direct violation. That's all I have to say, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I think Mr. Guevara is back on.
Yeah, I apologize. I was trying to unmute and it wouldn't unmute, and then I went away for a minute. I was actually trying to get on even before Rodney talked, although I really appreciate what he said and echo almost all, if not all of it. But my first question is right now we've got this discussion going on. If we're following the rules, we're allowed to ask questions and get information. But if there's a discussion, we have to have a motion on the table, and I'm not aware of a motion on the table. So my reluctance a little bit to move forward on that, but not hearing anything from the city attorney. If we're good to go forward, then I'll go forward. Like I said, I agree a lot with what Rodney was saying. And, if you look at the agenda item, because that's under the Texas Open Meetings Act, and I certainly don't want to cut off citizens. I'm glad we've got citizen involvement. There were discussions or support from both sides, although, obviously just heavily in one favor over the other. But if you look at what's in the agenda item, we've got very specific items on there regarding our core goals, core values, council goals, city ordinances, 3.1 of the rules of civil procedure, and the city charter 1109. And so that's what I was trying to get a little clarification as we're moving forward. What is exactly are we as the council being asked to decide tonight? There was a lot of discussion regarding, if I did this in my job, I'd lose my job. We're an at-will employment state. There's a lot more protections that elected officials have because they are elected by individuals, where the censorship isn't necessarily there as it would be for a paid employee. And then a lot of talk about, best interests of the city. But if you listen to those talk, there's a lot of subjectivity in that. And so going back, so I guess this is my question to Ms. Marfin is, if we're moving forward on a discussion here, under what provisions of our values, goals, ordinances, procedure 3.1, and the city charter are we moving forward with that allows us to take some type of action against Mr. Kelly, Councilman Kelly? Because, like I said, specifically pointed out, our charter does allow for forfeiture of office, and I haven't seen anything, and we didn't plead or we didn't put in a motion or the agenda item 3.06 is in there. If you look at 3.09, there's a very specific, it's called conflicts of interest. The prohibited acts are under C. I haven't heard any allegations that are coming from underneath that. City ordinances, I haven't heard anything come underneath that. So we're left with, and there's some conjecture on 3.1. Are we in it, or are we in it? Are we not in it? So then if we're left with just the core values and core goals, what actions as a city council are we allowed to take under the core actions and core goals as we're moving forward?
Under the language of the posting tonight and the provisions stated there, and under Robert's Rules of Order as invoked for the council's rules of procedure, Chapter 20 of the Robert's Rules of Order, Section 61, permits censure without a formal trial and investigation. That's the form of censure that's noted in the Robert's Rules of Order. And as mentioned earlier, as a parliamentary note, it is correct that generally debate may not occur for Robert's Rules of Order without a main motion being on the floor for sections 3 and 10 of Robert's Rules of Order, just for clarification.
Yeah, that's just one of many violations, just to make a point.
So I'll make a motion to censure Mr. Kelly for violating our code of values about community, leadership, professionalism, and integrity. Also, like to add in that our strategic goals have been violated in our ability to manage our city, bring businesses here, and also for us doing the work of government and maintain that. Also, under the rules of procedure for Cedar Park City Council, as amended July 26, 2018, on 3.1 rules of procedure. Last sentence in it says, council members shall show respect and courtesy and refrain from making disparaging comments about fellow council members, the public, the city staff, in conduct of city council meetings, outside of city council meetings, in social settings, and on social media. Then finally, in the city charter, under section 11.09, conflicts of interest prohibited. Item A, general. During the term of office or employment, no employee or elected or appointed officer of the city may act in any way which places or tends to place personal interest in conflict with the interests of the city. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Can you repeat that last section you just read from 11.09, please?
Sure. During the term of office or employment.
Like what part of 11.09? Is it A, B, C? I just wanted to look at it here in front of me.
A, sir. General. During the term of office or employment, no employee or elected or appointed officer of the city may act in any way which places or tends to place personal interest in conflict with the interest of the city.
Second.
I guess now we can have a discussion.
So,
and I do believe that while Robert's Rules of Order was evoked at 7 p.m. today for this item procedurally, Rule 3.1 was in effect before 7 p.m. The entire duration of Mr. Kelly's term on the council.
So, Ms. Marfin, when you were reading from Robert's Rules of Order, and I apologize, I don't have it in front of me, and I know enough to probably get myself in trouble, but if I remember correctly, there is different censorships allowed for conduct that happens during a meeting versus conduct that happens outside of a meeting. And I could be wrong, so if you've got it there, please correct me. But my understanding is that to be censored for conduct outside of a meeting, that you do have to go to a committee, have it investigated, and have a trial. Is that incorrect?
As far as I can tell, that is correct with regard to forfeiture or removal from office. The Rule 61 does allow for incorporation of outside documents such as bylaws or rules of procedure in determining.
I'm looking at the rule too. The rule says it's possible to adopt a motion of censure without formal disciplinary procedures.
So my question was for everything, or because I thought there was a differentiation between conduct that happened in a meeting and conduct that happened outside of it. And I just want to be sure.
That's if you're actually going through formal disciplinary proceedings.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so if we're, let's see, so we're under Robert's rules and we're dealing with 11.09. Hold on a moment, please. Thanks for allowing the other two people on the council to speak, by the way. I noticed that didn't happen. But 11.09 simply states under penalties that any person convicted shall be ineligible for a period. Is there some kind of document that I don't know about, some court that maybe it was in some alternate universe that I maybe went to and was convicted of something? I'm just curious. I mean, I do have a horrible memory every now and then.
Is that just for the city attorney or who are we asking?
No, it's before you. The city attorney isn't an elected official. It's a question to you. What?
No, I think we're trying to interpret the charter.
So you're asking me a question, Mr. Point of Order.
Yeah.
Ask me a question. Are you going to allow me to reply, or is this an AG Barr situation where I just get cut off and I don't get to say anything? I'm just curious.
You've talked more than any council member tonight, so I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Oh, I don't think so, Mr. Mayor. And as a matter of fact, what this happens to be is on the national level, it's brought down to the local level. The witch hunt that the president was scrutinized by is exactly what's going on here. And that's because of you. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah. This has nothing to do with the president. But okay.
Yes, it does.
Ms. Marfin, do you understand and do you have an answer for Mr. Kelly's question?
So Ms. Marfa, seeing that the council, and in particular the mayor, who's an attorney, didn't understand my question, it's very simple that under 11.09, it sure seems to me as though that any person that's convicted under that section shall be ineligible to run for office. So are we a legislative branch or are we a judicial branch? And if we're a legislative branch, which I believe we are, what conviction am I being accused of, and where is the document that shows that conviction? You know, does that make sense to you? You know what I'm asking?
I believe so. As posted, the reference to the charter section 1109 was in reference only to subsection A. Contains the language of that subsection. I don't believe we're posted to speak under subsection E regarding convictions. The only portion of charter section 1109.
Oh, I see. Okay, so that's okay, so that really narrows it down, and I appreciate that. So where it's just 11.09A, which is a general term, pretty general.
I would just like to say the posting
during the term of the office, Mr. Mayor. This is
just read the item.
Clarify what this is about. So. The general is during the term of office or employment, no employee or elected appointed officer of the city may act in any way which places or tends to place personal interest in conflict with the interest of the city. What personal interest am I being accused and charged and will probably be convicted of after this is done? The attorney doesn't know what personal interest I have in conflict with the interest of the city. Maybe another attorney like the mayor can explain to me what the personal interest I have that's in conflict. And if not, we can ask Council Member Guevara, who is also an attorney, much higher caliber, mind you.
I think we just heard from 70 residents that just laid that out.
What is the personal interest that is in conflict with the interest of the city. The personal interest. What is the personal interest what benefit to me if there is a personal interest? Cedar Park Entertainment Group hasn't come before the city of Cedar Park. The USVA isn't coming before Cedar Park. So what personal interest do I have? My house isn't being repoed. None of my kids have been taken to jail.
Ask Mr. Kirkland. He made the motion. I know mine would be harassing and attacking staff, residents, and council members.
What is the personal interest, Mr. Mayor?
So the personal interest is community. We strive to improve, promote, and help the community where we work and live. We are bridge builders, not dividers. Leadership. We provide positive influences for our citizens. That means all of our citizens, not just the 2,900 that elected you, Mr. Kelly. We overcome obstacles and move forward in a direction that follows our community vision. We are supposed to work together to build this community, not tear it apart, not divide it. We already got enough going on in this world. Professionalism. We promote fairness, dignity, respect for our customers and our workforce. When staff is getting bullied, that's picking on them. Also, it's time of COVID. We do not need to go down to an event in Austin, come back to Cedar Park. A couple weeks later, we're sick. Then we have an open meeting. And, you know, I'm wearing a double mask because you said you had been sick. And then you're sitting there within like a foot of our city manager talking to her after you've been sick. Have you been tested yet for COVID?
So you've done this in your speech, and that was before the motion. So you're welcome to repeat that speech as it's under this motion, Melville. However, again, what is my personal interest that's being placed over the conflict with the city? Is my personal interest the absolute destruction of the city that I would benefit from? What is the personal, and maybe, you know what, I see where you're coming from, Councilmember Kirkland. I want to ask some attorneys their opinion on what the what is my direct benefit in this that is in conflict with the city of Cedar Park. I really would like to know that.
It's really hard for someone to know what's inside your mind, Tim, to be honest with you. But I think our residents have spoken loud and clear. I think we can vote on this matter and just move on down the road.
Your interpretation in trying to read what's in anybody's mind is construed by a post that was made on Monday of last week and suddenly blew up Friday because my post on Tuesday was in absolutely support of Greg Kelly. That's what this is all about. This is purely political, and it just happens to be at the right time. Hey, Tim, I'm not the one that called teachers leeches. No, you're interrupting me. Everybody else is able to speak but Tim. Everybody else is able to speak but Tim, right? So that's okay. That's all right. But let me tell you this. If this hadn't happened now, you would have gone back to my post from who knows how long ago so that it happened right before the May election. So again, I ask.
You do stuff every week, man.
I ask. Yes, I'm like the regular political person who's only been around for a year. Unlike you, it's been your lifetime. Who actually has an opinion that places me apart from someone like you. Now again, I ask. What place or tend to place my personal interest conflict with the interest of the city? What is it, Mr. Mayor?
It's already been stated
possibly that I do not. Is it possible? Is my personal interest in conflict with the city that I don't want you to be mayor and that there's out there who's spoken to me more in the last week than you have spoken to me in an entire 14 months on council?
Mel's already told you
what is my personal interest in
I think that one of your personal interests is a statement to the Hill Country News about promoting yourself for future running for office. That's putting your interest ahead of the interest of the city. You're a council member. You're supposed to work with the other 6 of us to do the business of the city.
You know, the thing is, like, yeah, this might have been as it were, the straw that broke the camel's back. I'm a little troubled that you've taken your antics away from social media, and, you know, aside from your little flyers that you sent out last year saying that I was going to do all these things, because you've got this axe to grind because of people that I may know. You know, whatever your aim is, you don't have the best interest of the city, and we could put a reel together of the greatest hits that happened way before this week. The way that you speak to me, the way you speak to women, the way you speak to our city manager. I mean, I guess just being the only woman on council, I guess that's just the abuse I get to take, and then getting accused of things that I don't do. And going after my husband, I want to know where that IA investigation is that he was conducting illegal background checks, because I don't remember that being called for, but he was accused of. So feel free, I'll wait. But assaulting a female in public at a chamber event, a city event, and you are there as a city council member, everybody knows, that kind of is beyond the pale at this point. Goes beyond social media. That doesn't represent our city. Sorry.
So how about I call the question? I'll move to call the question. And for those of you that don't know what that means we cut off and vote. Or do y'all want to keep talking?
All right, second the call.
We have a motion and a second to call the question.
I just have one more question, I guess, for the city attorney. Is she able to define, just real quick, can she define to the public?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question again? I'm sorry, I just didn't.
Yeah, so we were talking about section 1109, and all this is around personal interest. Can you define personal interest?
I think to go further than just the procedural question right now would be bordering on giving attorney advice in a public session, which we generally do not do.
Well, I mean, I mean, can you guys hear me? Because I've been having trouble with my audio. Can you guys hear me? No?
Yeah, we can hear you, and I just cut out too, so I don't know what's going on.
I mean, I know we keep talking about the personal interest. I mean, wouldn't that mean, like, Councilman Kelly would have to have some type of either like a financial benefit or something, or liability occurring? I don't know. I mean, there's got to be something that we can discuss here, because obviously there is no clear definition of what, if anything, Councilman Kelly's done that violates personal interests in the city. I mean, I don't know.
And that's what I'm trying to ascertain here. If it's under 1109A, what personal interests do I have? I want to destroy the city. What personal benefit? I don't understand the personal interests that are in conflict with the interests of the city. It's a very simple question. Hang
on a second. Let me pull down my motion to call the question, because we're no longer talking about calling the question. We're now talking about Mel's motion. So let me withdraw my motion to call the question. We're back on to Mel's motion. Would it help matters for you, Mel? Because I know you just sort of said a whole bunch of stuff. If you amended your motion to take off 11, whatever that is, and just leave everything else you made a motion about, and take the charter provision off, so that we can quit talking for 30 minutes circular about whatever that means, would you be willing to amend your motion to take that off?
Yes, I'll amend my motion by removing 11.09.
Okay, second.
All right, so point of order. If we're going to remove something, then we can add something. And I think that the entire thing, members, not only Mr. Kelly, Tim Kelly, but members should be included in this. If we're going to,
We're not talking about the agenda item. We're talking about
point of order.
We're talking about a motion. We have a motion on the floor about the agenda item. You keep wanting to amend the agenda item itself, which the city attorney has already told you state law doesn't allow. I don't know if you're not listening.
But you're pulling 11.9 off of it?
Off the motion, not the agenda item. The agenda item is, you can't change the agenda item. The Open Meetings Act doesn't let you do that. The city attorney's already told you that. We're talking about the motion pursuant to the agenda item. Mel's talking about removing 11.9 off his motion.
Oh, okay. So what we're going to do then is we're going to move 1109 so that there's nothing that's there that I've been convicted of, because you can't do that.
Correct. I'm not talking about 1109 anymore because the motion doesn't include 1109 anymore.
Well, you're really good at obfuscating stuff.
It's hard to make you understand certain things.
Oh no, I understand that. I understand that I'm being exposed to a political witch hunt by someone who absolutely hates me, to include family member. And that's what's funny about this. This is a witch hunt. This is no different than a green scandal.
We've got a motion and a second on the floor.
Mel, can you restate the motion so that way it's clear to everyone? Mel, can you restate the motion so that it's clear to everyone, please?
Yes, Leanne, do you have the original motion?
Yeah, and I think we need to take a break on the emotion because it needs to be printed and emailed to us. I'm not going to vote on something that I don't see.
He can just, Mel, you can make a new motion right now if you want.
Yeah. All right. So
You're a council member.
My new motion is to censure Mr. Kelly for putting his concerns ahead of the core values of the city, community. We strive to improve, promote, and help the community. We work and live where we work and live. We're bridge builders. Leadership. We provide positive influences for the citizens. We overcome obstacles, move forward in a direction that follows our community vision. Professionalism. We promote fairness, dignity, and respect for our customers and our workforce. Integrity. We are honorable, fair, and sincere, and strive to uphold our organizational values with our decisions and interactions. We understand that trust is earned through good character. Then, also, for violations with our strategic goals, including safety at top of mind, enhanced citizen safety levels, strong community connections, encourage and expand civic engagement and understanding government to inspire trust and confidence, operational and fiscal evidence, deliver high quality service in a fiscally responsible manner, attract and retain qualified workforce, grow here, open here, grow here, actively recruit new employers, actively recruit targeted industries and employers, retain businesses, link people, places, and things, improve transportation mobility, implement the roadway master plan, which we've been working on, advance 183 frontage roads, which require our partners, our regional partners, expand pedestrian and bike networks. I mean, we made commitments with Campo on road building projects.
Are we making a motion? I'm having a discussion.
And then finally, in the rules of procedure for the Cedar Park City Council, item 3.1, last sentence, council members shall show respect and courtesy to and refrain from making disparaging comments about fellow council members, the public, city staff, in conduct of city council meetings, outside of council meetings, in social settings, and on social media. That's my motion.
I just really quick for that motion, and I don't know if you're going to have to do it over again I think you mentioned somewhere at the beginning, basically what it says in 11.09, which is that Councilman Kelly placed his personal interest over the city or something like that. I mean,
Yeah, he said my concerns. Look, can we adjourn? Can we temporarily take a break and get that new amendment emailed to us? Because I'm not going to vote on anything that I can't see, and it sure sounds like there's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah. And if we can't come to an agreement, I mean, I would like to motion to adjourn, but I know we're right in the middle of this. Because
I second that motion.
Hey, Mel,
I second the motion.
Why don't you just withdraw your motion? Can't hear you.
I withdraw my motion.
I move that
I make a motion to adjourn.
Councilmember Tim Kelly.
I make a motion to adjourn, and it was seconded.
Violating our strategic goals and violating Council Rule Procedure 3.1.
I made a motion to adjourn, and
I was first. Mel, did you second?
Second.
Motion by me, second by Mel. Let's vote now. Does anybody wish to discuss the motion?
Yeah, there was a motion to adjourn, and it was seconded, and it was clearly heard.
That motion was before yours.
The motion on
the motion was before yours, Mr. Kelly.
The motions cannot stand until the other ones.
And Kelly or you, Mayor.
My motion was first. Is there any discussion on my motion to censure?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have one question for you. Can you please define censorship real quick?
No, it's not censorship. It's censuring.
Oh, censoring. Yes. Can you please define what that will consist of for Mr. Kelly?
There is nothing more than a formal reprimand. That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
And am I going to be able to see that, or we're going to vote on something that we can't see? This is kind of like
we're voting on it right now.
Right? It's a face mask thing, right?
Those things.
Just like your face mask order, correct?
Mr. Guevara, do you have any comments to make?
What's going on here? Is this a banana republic?
Mayor Van
I'm sorry.
Arsdale.
There's like 19 people talking at once.
Mr. Mayor, we couldn't hear the motion that's on the floor before the council.
It's a motion to censure Mr. Kelly for violating the city the strategic goals, the core values, and the rule of procedure 3.1.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. Can I see the censure document, please? You voted, you got it second. It's time for discussion. Can I see this censure document?
There is no censure document. It's a motion to censure you right there on the actions. There is no.
Oh, so there's a censure and there's no document that I get to see.
That's correct.
So this is just like the joint letter that you magically produced on your own and sent to the governor.
Yeah, it's nothing like that.
Yes, we vote on. It is exactly like that.
Happens all the time. Other cities, Beaumont, McKinney, a lot of other cities have censured their council members in the past year.
Yeah, and there's no censure document. It's just a statement.
We can also come back and create one if the vote passes. So does Mr. Guevara, does anybody else wish to speak other than Mr. Kelly?
The only thing that
Chavez
that I'd like to say, Mayor, is if you can hear me, is that the conduct and some of the conduct that has been discussed tonight, particularly brought up by you, Mayor, was information that was new to me that I wasn't aware of. But with regard to a censorship in this type of situation, if I look at the core values, and I'm still not 100% sure I understand, I guess, the authorities coming out of the Robert Rules of Order. I don't condone calling anybody any type of names, leeches or whatever. I think that we all in the council need to pull our Bibles out and get out James 3 and meditate on it tonight. But I can't support a censorship.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Let's call the roll. Ms. Duffy.
And this is the motion to censure?
Yes, it is.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Kirkland.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Robinson. Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Guevara. Mr. Guevara.
He said no, but we can't hear him.
Can you hear me, Mr. Guevara? I think you're muted.
Okay, I'm unmuted. No, I'm a no.
Okay, Mr. Chavez.
No.
Mr. Kelly.
No.
The motion to censure passes 4-3. That's it. If somebody else has a motion.
Yeah, thanks for my closing statement too. I appreciate that, but that's okay. I move we adjourn.
Second. We got a motion by Kelly, second by Chavez. Mr. Kelly. Ms. Duffy.
I'm a no. I'm a no. I want to talk about the conditions of a censure. Can we do that here? Or?
The what?
The conditions of the censure. Like, is there any consequences?
So you just voted on.
We can put. Hang on.
You just voted on something.
We can put on a future agenda item if you want, but right now it's just we've already censored him.
And the censure will include exactly what Mr. Kirkland. This is just a banana republic.
When our city attorney gets back, and we can discuss that with him if you would like. But we got a motion and a second to adjourn on the table right now.
Unbelievable.
So it's if you want to keep going, you can vote no to not adjourn.
And I voted no.
Okay. Mr. Kirkland.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson. Mr. Robinson, can you hear me? Rodney, can you hear? We're voting on the motion to adjourn. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chavez?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. The motion passes 6-1. We're adjourned.